Sang Ji opened her brother's bedroom door and found a handsome stranger sitting inside. Her mother had just told her that her brother, Sang Yen, was back. Sang Ji mistook Du Hao for Sang Yen and assumed her brother had secretly gotten plastic surgery. Du Hao did not explain right away. Instead, he played along and kept teasing her. Then the real Sang Yen appeared behind her, and Sang Ji realized she had mistaken Du Hao for her brother. Half an hour earlier, Sang Ji had been told to bring in a parent for the third time that month. She had not paid attention in class, so her teacher had asked her to bring a parent to school the next day. Sang Ji had not dared to let her parents find out. With no other choice, she had asked Sang Yen, who was studying away from home, for help. But Sang Yen had refused without hesitation. Sang Ji had gone home with her head down. When she learned that her brother was already back, she had grabbed a plate of fruit and rushed upstairs. That was how she had ended up mistaking Du Hao for Sang Yen. Sang Yen saw that Sang Ji had come to him on her own. He immediately guessed she was in trouble again. Before Sang Ji could speak, Du Hao introduced himself. He also deliberately told Sang Yen that Sang Ji had mistaken him for her brother. When Sang Yen heard that she would rather believe he had gotten plastic surgery than recognize him, he started arguing with her. Sang Ji refused to back down. She said the mistake made perfect sense if Sang Yen had suddenly become as handsome as Du Hao. The argument quickly grew more heated. Du Hao sat nearby and watched. He even handed Sang Ji a piece of fruit and told her not to hold it against her brother. But Sang Ji had not forgotten why she came. She again asked Sang Yen to meet her teacher at school. Sang Yen still refused. Begging and pestering him did not work. Sang Ji immediately pretended to cry and called their mother over. The moment their mother took Sang Yen out of the room, Sang Ji stopped crying. Du Hao stared at her, stunned by how quickly she changed. With her real brother refusing to help, Sang Ji turned to Du Hao. She asked the man she had just met to pretend to be Sang Yen and meet her teacher. Du Hao asked why the teacher had called for a parent. Sang Ji only admitted that she had not paid attention in class. Du Hao did not believe that was the whole story. Du Hao had to leave for his part-time job and did not stay for dinner. Before leaving, he asked for Sang Ji's name and the name of her school. He called her Little Sang Ji and asked when they would see each other again. Sang Ji immediately asked if it would be the next day. Du Hao did not answer. The next day in class, Sang Ji kept worrying that he would not show up. She could not focus on the lesson at all. She kept sighing through class until the teacher called on her. At the end of class, the teacher reminded Sang Ji that she would be waiting for her parent in the office. After school, the other students left one by one. Sang Ji stayed behind, drawing as she waited for Du Hao. A long time passed, but he still did not appear. She packed her things and headed out, grumbling that Du Hao and Sang Yen were both liars. After a few steps, she fell to the ground. When she looked up, she saw Du Hao walking toward her. He apologized for being late and went with her to meet the teacher. Before they entered the office, Sang Ji warned him not to say too much. All he had to do was follow the teacher's lead and not reveal that he was not her brother. When they met the teacher, Sang Ji introduced Du Hao as her brother, Sang Yen. The teacher asked why her parents had not come. Du Hao said their parents had been called to a construction site to meet with a material supplier. That was why they had sent him instead. He added that they had noticed Sang Ji seemed less motivated to do her homework and wanted to know how she was doing at school. Du Hao said it all with a straight face. Sang Ji stared at him in surprise. The teacher said Sang Ji's grades were not the problem. Sang Ji had always ranked first in the class, but good grades did not mean she could treat her schoolwork so casually. Du Hao nodded along and praised the teacher for taking her work seriously. While the teacher spoke, Sang Ji whispered to Fu Xia that every parent meeting sounded the same. Du Hao eventually made her apologize to the teacher, and the meeting ended. After leaving the office, Sang Ji proudly asked Du Hao whether she had been brave. She thanked him. Du Hao said he would walk her home and give her a lecture on the way. Sang Ji argued that a real brother would not keep lecturing her after meeting the teacher. Du Hao pretended to call Sang Yen and ask whether that was true. Sang Ji rushed to stop him. If Sang Yen found out that someone had impersonated him, her secret would be out. Du Hao agreed to keep the secret, but he still insisted on taking her home. On the way, Sang Ji held out her hand and asked him to make a pinky promise. Du Hao told her to pay attention in class and stop breaking the rules. If the teacher called in a parent again, everyone would find out he had pretended to be her brother. Sang-ji said she could just ask him again next time. She also said Do-hao treated her better than her real brother. If something like this happened again, she still wanted him to pretend to be her brother. At the look on Do-hao's face, Sang-ji quietly promised not to do it again. When they reached her house, Do-hao handed Sang-ji a light bulb and asked her to give it to her father. He told her to behave and then walked away. A few years later, Sang-ji was a high school sophomore. Sang-yen returned home after being away for a month. He planned to borrow their father's car to move out of his dorm. Sang-ji learned that Sang-yen would also be helping his roommates move, so she offered to go with him. Sang-yen refused without hesitation. Sang-ji immediately reminded their parents that he had been away for a month. She said she missed him. Their parents told Sang-yen to take his sister with him. Sang-yen argued that the boxes were too heavy for her. He would also have to watch her constantly so she would not bump into anything or get hurt. If she did get hurt, he would be the one scolded when they got home. Their parents said Sang-ji could stay nearby and watch the luggage. Sang-yen had no choice but to agree. After school that afternoon, Sang-ji arrived early and waited outside her brother's dorm. Sang-yen got held up and did not come downstairs in time. Sang-ji spotted the family car in the distance and ran toward it. She found a cute fox doll inside and picked it up. Then she noticed Do-hao's books. Do-hao appeared and jokingly asked who the little thief was. He had not seen Sang-ji in years and almost did not recognize her. Sang-ji explained that she was there to help her brother move out of the dorm. Do-hao had already heard about it from Sang-yen. He asked why she had picked up only his things. Sang-ji said she would never have touched them if she had known they were his. Do-hao reminded her that he had once done her a huge favor. Sang-ji deliberately claimed she did not remember. Do-hao handed her the fox doll and told her to keep it if she liked it. Sang-ji insisted she was already a high school sophomore and no longer played with dolls. But the moment Do-hao said he would throw it away, she snatched it back. Do-hao took Sang-ji into the dorm. Several roommates gathered around to meet Sang-ji for the first time. Sang-yen told them to stay back so they would not scare her. Do-hao called her little sister to tease her. Sang-ji insisted she was not little anymore. Do-hao played along, dropped the word little, and called her sister instead. But he kept teasing her. They talked about having hot pot together that evening, but Do-hao had to work and could not stay. Before leaving, he again told Sang-ji to take the doll if she liked it. After he left, Sang-ji asked his roommate Chien-fei whether Do-hao had a girlfriend. Chien-fei said Do-hao worked every day and had no time for a relationship. He also mentioned that everyone called Do-hao and Sang-yen Nanwu's two dogs. Sang-ji learned that her brother was not the only one with that kind of nickname. With Do-hao gone, Sang-ji put the fox doll in her backpack and got ready to leave. But because she wanted to see him again, she deliberately left her composition notebook in the dorm. After she got home, she called Sang-yen and claimed that Do-hao had left something with her. When Do-hao got on the phone, Sang-ji admitted that she was the one who had left her notebook behind. At first, Do-hao thought she was trying to avoid the assignment and lectured her. When he realized she really needed the notebook, he agreed to meet her at the bus stop the next morning and help her finish it. Sang-ji set several alarms and went to sleep. Early the next morning, Sang-ji arrived at the bus stop on time. When Do-hao was not there, Sang-ji began to worry he would not come. She messaged him that if he was too late, he would never find a girlfriend. Do-hao replied almost immediately. He had already arrived and had only stepped away to buy her some milk. He had also bought breakfast for himself and brought her a small cake. As Sang-ji worked on her composition, she kept sneaking glances at him. While they talked, she learned that his hometown was Ihi. At the school entrance, Sang-ji turned to go inside, but Do-hao stopped her. He had read her composition without permission, so he had written a new one to make up for it. Sang-ji then discovered that she had called him a dog in her composition. She had also written that Do-hao and Sang-yen looked almost identical. She had even said Do-hao looked like Sang-yen's son. Sang-ji immediately wanted to find somewhere to hide. When she returned to the classroom, her classmates saw the composition in her hand. They thought it was a love letter. Sang-ji quickly explained that it was only the previous day's assignment. Later, Sang-ji ran into Fu-xia, who had followed her around since childhood. Fu-xia and several friends performed a dance in front of her. He had studied hard to get into the same school as Sang-ji, so he could see her every day. Fu Xia tried to tell her that his birthday was the following week, but Sang Ji walked away before he could finish. When Yin Ru heard about the birthday, she offered to go with Sang Ji to Fu Xia's party. After returning home, Sang Ji carefully placed the milk on her desk. Then she took out the composition Du Hao had written for her and began reading it. Du Hao had deliberately written the composition in the voice of an elementary school student. He wrote about helping Sang Yan move out of the dorm. In the composition, Du Hao wrote that he had already helped Sang Ji once and was now helping her a second time. Because of that, she had decided not to dislike him for being old, for now. The next line said she would start disliking him again later. He filled the rest with compliments about himself. But one line stood out. He had been happy to see her again too. Sang Ji could not stop herself from smiling when she read it. She added Du Hao on WeChat using his phone number. Her mother came in with grapes and noticed the milk on the desk. Sang Ji could not drink milk. She claimed she only liked the bottle and wanted to keep it so she could draw it later. Her mother told her to pour the milk out. Sang Ji quickly promised she would not sneak a drink. That weekend, Sang Ji's parents had to attend a wedding. They asked Sang Yan to come home and stay with her. Sang Ji did not want to be alone with him. When Sang Yan returned, he could not find her anywhere. He eventually found her hiding between the couch and the coffee table. Sang Yan wanted to take her out for hot pot, but Sang Ji refused to go. Sang Yan said that when he was her age and their parents were away, he cooked for himself. He had even made food for her. Sang Ji said the situations were different. Sang Yan had not had an older brother when he was her age, but she did. That answer immediately cheered him up. Just then, one of Sang Yan's roommates called. When Sang Ji learned they would be eating with Sang Yan's roommates, she immediately thought of Du Hao. During the drive, she sat quietly in the passenger seat. She assumed Sang Yan was picking up Du Hao, but Qian Fei got into the car instead. Sang Ji looked disappointed. Then Qian Fei called Du Hao and urged him to join them. The news made Sang Ji happy again. Du Hao looked exhausted when he got into the car. Sang Ji watched him and thought about how he worked every day. Du Hao was the first to tease her. When Sang Ji did not greet him, Du Hao told her to say his name properly. She did so reluctantly. Du Hao then asked what she liked about him, and Sang Ji could only say he was handsome. He asked whether she was blushing because he was so handsome. Qian Fei said Du Hao had used the same line on him during a fitness test. Qian Fei had just finished running and was out of breath when Du Hao asked whether he was blushing because he had seen him. For a moment, Qian Fei thought Du Hao was flirting with him. Sang Yan added that Du Hao talked that way to dogs too. Qian Fei told Sang Ji to stay away from Du Hao because he was not a good person. Sang Ji agreed. Du Hao did not argue. When they reached the mall, Sang Yan went to park the car. He told Sang Ji to go inside with Du Hao first. Sang Ji felt unwell and slowly fell behind. Du Hao noticed her lagging and asked whether her stomach hurt. Sang Ji only said she needed the restroom. When she turned around, Du Hao saw the bloodstain on the back of her skirt. He caught up and asked whether she had any tissues. Then he told her to go inside while he bought what she needed. Inside the restroom, Sang Ji saw the blood on her skirt in the mirror. Realizing that Du Hao had seen the stain made Sang Ji even more embarrassed. Du Hao felt too awkward to buy the sanitary products alone, so he called Sang Yan over. The two stood quietly in front of the shelf. They compared overnight pads, different lengths, and package sizes. They eventually chose one pack. They also picked out a dark skirt after noticing the stain on Sang Ji's skirt. A girl soon came to the restroom entrance, looking for Sang Ji. Someone outside had asked her to bring the items in. She reassured Sang Ji that every girl went through this. When Sang Ji came out in the new skirt, only Sang Yan was waiting around the corner. Du Hao was no longer outside the restroom. Before leaving, Du Hao had asked Sang Yan to make up a believable excuse. That way, Sang Ji would not have to face him or Qian Fei and feel even more embarrassed. Sang Yan reassured her that no one would make fun of her over something like that. Sang Yan then took her to find Qian Fei. He claimed Sang Ji had been playing at the claw machines, which was why they had taken so long. During dinner, Sang Ji wanted to order beef meatballs. Sang Yan immediately stopped her. Qian Fei thought one more dish would not matter. Sang Yan then explained that Sang Ji was allergic to beef and lamb. Du Hao also told everyone not to order the dish. He poured Sang Ji a cup of hot water. When Sang Ji reached toward the beef chow fun on the table, Du Hao stopped her. He jokingly said he would taste it for her first. In the end, Sang Yen picked out all the beef and left the noodles for his sister. To make their earlier excuse seem real, Qian Fei offered to take Sang Ji to the claw machines after dinner. Sang Ji tried several times, but failed. Du Hao stepped behind her and took over the controls. Standing so close to him made Sang Ji's heart race. When he learned she wanted the white doll, he managed to grab it on his third try. He handed it to her, called her a stubborn kid, and told her not to cry. Later, Yin Ru dragged Sang Ji to a dessert shop to wait for Fu Xia. Once inside, Sang Ji discovered that Du Hao worked there. She greeted him and picked up the menu. As she ordered, she kept sneaking glances at Du Hao. Sang Ji thought he had not noticed. But when it was time to pay, Du Hao charged her 1 extra yuan. He said she had watched him so many times that it would be unfair not to charge her. Sang Ji said the shop had no customers because Du Hao was running a scam. When she refused to admit she had been watching him, Du Hao said he had only been joking. Sang Ji insisted on paying. She said Du Hao worked there to earn money. Du Hao said treating her to 1 dessert would not cost him much. He still refused to take her money. Yin Ru lit up when she heard he was treating them. She had already spent most of her money on a birthday present. Du Hao soon finished preparing the desserts and made Sang Ji a warm bowl of coconut sago. Sang Ji overheard the owner discussing in advance on Du Hao's wages. She wondered whether he was short on money. Fu Xia arrived at the dessert shop. He apologized to Sang Ji for being late. When Fu Xia saw Du Hao, he again mistook him for Sang Ji's brother. After learning that Du Hao worked there, Fu Xia asked Sang Ji whether her family was rich. Sang Ji immediately told him to mind his own business. Fu Xia urged Sang Ji to leave. She had not finished her dessert, so she quickly ate a few more bites. Before Sang Ji left, Du Hao reminded her to be careful and get home before dark. Outside, Yin Ru complained that Du Hao sounded exactly like her father. Her father had said the same thing before she left home. A little later, Sang Ji returned to the dessert shop and asked Du Hao directly whether he was short on money. He asked why she thought that. Sang Ji said that if he needed money, he did not have to keep buying her food. Du Hao replied that he could still afford to treat her to 1 dessert. After Sang Ji left, he found all her spending money on the table. He looked at the money with a helpless smile. At the birthday party, everyone told Fu Xia to make a wish. He was about to confess his feelings to Sang Ji, but she suddenly said she needed to go home. Fu Xia had not expected her to leave so soon, so he hurried after her. Yin Ru's expression darkened as she watched him go. He soon caught up with Sang Ji. He cautiously asked how she would feel if he said he liked her. She told him to focus on school and stop making that kind of joke. Fu Xia insisted he was serious. He also brought up the time Sang Ji had knocked out one of his teeth when they were children. Sang Ji reminded him that her hand had been fractured too. Then she said she did not want to keep talking about it. Fu Xia looked ready to cry. Sang Ji grew even more anxious and was about to tell him not to cry when Du Hao appeared behind them. Sang Ji suspected he had been hiding nearby and listening. Du Hao admitted he had heard their conversation. He reminded Sang Ji that she was still in high school and was not allowed to date. Sang Ji quickly explained that she had not accepted Fu Xia's confession. She stressed that she had already told him to focus on school and stop thinking about dating. Her serious explanation made Du Hao laugh. He said there was nothing wrong with someone liking her, but she could reject him more gently and avoid embarrassing him too much. Sang Ji said Fu Xia had cried only because he had always been a crybaby. They had fought often as children, and Fu Xia had always cried first. When Du Hao heard how often Sang Ji had fought as a child, he understood why her teacher had called in her parents so many times. Sang Ji insisted it had not happened that often. She had only been called in once or twice. Du Hao returned the money Sang Ji had left behind, saying 1 dessert did not cost that much. Sang Ji admitted she had only wanted to help. She said she would have done the same for Sang Yen if he had been struggling. Du Hao asked whether she thought he was pitiful. Sang Ji quickly apologized and asked whether he was angry. Du Hao said he was not. Du Hao thanked her for caring, but he said he was not so poor that she needed to give him all her spending money. Then he made her a deal. If he ever became too poor to afford food, he would borrow money from her. Sang Ji took the money back. After Fu Xia's birthday, Yin Ru stopped speaking to Sang Ji. Sang Ji asked which event she had entered for the school sports meet, But In-ru still refused to answer, because Sang-ji had not signed up for an event. The teacher called on her in class. Sang-ji volunteered to keep score. The teacher said keeping score did not count as a sports event. She signed Sang-ji up for the high jump instead. Sang-ji said she had a bad knee and could not jump. The teacher replied that she was 17, not 70, and refused to change the event. After class, Sang-ji caught up with In-ru, but In-ru still would not speak to her. Sang-ji left alone. On the day of the sports meet, In-ru again refused to cheer for Sang-ji during the high jump. At the check-in area, Sang-ji was surprised to find Sang-yen working there. Sang-yen spotted her bib and insisted on reading the number on her back. The number was 0155, so he immediately joked that Sang-ji was only 1.55 meters tall. When he heard she was competing in the high jump, he teasingly told her to do her best. Do-hao brought her a hat and reminded her to warm up so she would not twist her ankle. Sang-yen got his camera, ready to photograph her during the competition. Sang-ji noticed the camera and went over to stop him. Sang-yen explained that their parents had asked him to take pictures. Sang-ji asked her brother to take pictures only when she looked good. Sang-yen asked when she had ever looked good. He pulled out the photo he had just taken. Then he teased her, saying she looked barely 1.5 meters tall. Do-hao told Sang-yen to stop picking on his sister. Sang-ji immediately repeated Do-hao's words to Sang-yen. Sang-yen asked which one of them was actually her brother. He then gave the photo he had taken to Do-hao. Soon, it was Sang-ji's turn to compete in the high jump. On her first attempt, she ran toward the bar, but stopped right in front of it. On her second attempt, she ran straight into the bar. On her third attempt, she fell to the ground and twisted her ankle. Sang-yen immediately ran over and carried his sister on his back. A teacher saw them on the way and asked who Sang-yen was. Sang-ji once again introduced Sang-yen as her father. Sang-yen thought she had injured her head in the fall. He kept scolding Sang-ji as they walked. He asked why she had signed up when she could not even do the high jump. Sang-ji was already injured. When her brother kept blaming her, she demanded that he put her down. Do-hao offered to carry her instead. Sang-yen did not object. He only told Do-hao to be careful with Sang-ji's injured foot. Sang-ji climbed off Sang-yen's back and onto Do-hao's. Do-hao carried her to the school clinic. No one was there, so he cleaned and disinfected her wound himself. Sang-ji kept staring at him. Do-hao asked why she was looking at him like that. Sang-ji said Do-hao treated her better. Unlike Sang-yen, he did not constantly scold her. She even said her brother did not love her at all. Do-hao reminded her that Sang-yen had been extremely worried when she fell. Sang-yen had immediately rushed over and carried her on his back. That alone showed how much Sang-yen cared about her. Sang-ji still complained that Sang-yen had continued scolding her even after she was injured. Do-hao said it would be almost impossible to get Sang-yen to stop scolding people. Later, In-ru approached Sang-ji and asked her to go shopping. In-ru had not spoken to Sang-ji for a long time. Sang-ji thought this might be a chance for them to make up, so she followed In-ru out of school. Something came up for Sang-yen that day, so he asked Do-hao to pick Sang-ji up from school. When Do-hao arrived, the security guard told him that all the students had already left. Meanwhile, In-ru kept telling Sang-ji to walk faster. Sang-ji was worried that Sang-yen would still be waiting for her if she returned too late. In-ru asked whether she had brought any money. Sang-ji said she had just over 50 yuan. In-ru immediately suggested going to an internet cafe. Their teacher had warned them that the area was dangerous, so Sang-ji refused to go. In-ru became angry and walked ahead by herself. Sang-ji had no choice but to limp after her. Do-hao searched everywhere for Sang-ji. A passerby eventually told him that she had entered a nearby alley with another student. 3 girls in the alley complained that In-ru was late. In-ru explained that the teacher had kept the class late. She also said she had not brought any money, but Sang-ji had. One of the girls immediately grabbed Sang-ji and took her wallet. The wallet held only 50 yuan. The girl mocked Sang-ji for being poor and made fun of her limp. The girl shoved Sang-ji against the wall and searched through her backpack. After finding nothing else of value, the girls ordered Sang-ji to bring more money after school the next day. Before leaving, the girl patted Sang-ji's face and threatened her again. Sang-ji asked In-ru whether she knew those girls. In-ru first said she did not. She then admitted that she had met them at an internet cafe the day before. Sang-ji understood that In-ru had approached her only to bring her to the alley. Inru kept apologizing. Inru said the girls probably would not bother them again if they gave them the money. With vacation about to begin, she thought nothing else would happen once school let out. Sang-ji told Inru to explain everything to her own parents when she got home. Inru's parents could then speak to the teacher. Sang-ji said the girls were only trying to frighten Inru. Inru's parents would not ignore what had happened. No matter how many times Inru apologized, Sang-ji refused to speak to her anymore. As Sang-ji limped out of the alley, her eyes slowly turned red. Du-hao arrived just then, and seeing him only made her more upset. Du-hao immediately pulled her into his arms. Sang-ji leaned against his shoulder and began to cry. Du-hao quickly noticed the wound on her hand. He asked whether someone had bullied her and why she had not contacted him sooner. Sang-ji said Sang-yen had told her that Du-hao was usually busy. Sang-yen had also told her not to bother Du-hao without a good reason. However, she had not planned to hide what happened. She would tell her parents everything after she got home. Du-hao asked how those girls had hit her. Sang-ji explained that they had not actually hit her. They had only patted her face and taken her wallet. She had accidentally hurt her hand herself. Du-hao became furious when he learned that Sang-ji had been threatened. Sang-ji also told him what Inru had done. Du-hao told Sang-ji not to spend time alone with Inru again. He also told her to explain everything to her parents when she got home. He borrowed a bicycle and took Sang-ji home. As she sat on the back of the bicycle, Sang-ji slowly calmed down. When they arrived, Du-hao gave her 50 yuan. Before leaving, he reminded her again to tell her parents what had happened. Back in her room, Sang-ji stared at the 50 yuan Du-hao had given her. She thought about the time they had spent together. Then she wrote her secret on a small piece of paper and folded it into a tiny star. She placed it in the milk bottle where she kept the others. On the note, she wrote that she did not want to admit it, but she thought she was starting to like Du-hao. After learning that his sister had been bullied, Sang-yen arrived at the school early. He waited outside with Qian-fei and Du-hao. When Sang-ji saw the three of them waiting after school, she turned around and tried to leave. Sang-yen immediately called her back. He knew the girls had ordered her to return that day. He told his sister to lead the way. They could not just act as if nothing had happened after she had been bullied. Qian-fei and Du-hao also told Sang-ji not to be afraid. Sang-ji could not stop them, so she led the three men back to the alley from the day before. When they reached the alley, Sang-yen handed Sang-ji 2 lollipops. He then asked her to describe the people who had threatened her. Sang-ji said one had dyed hair, one had short hair, and the other had long hair. The more Sang-yen listened, the more confused he became. He then realized that the 3 people who had bullied his sister were girls. He complained that Sang-ji had not told him sooner. Sang-ji said he had never asked. She had also already told them not to come. Now that Sang-yen knew the bullies were girls, he was not sure how to handle them. Sang-ji told them to go home. Sang-yen refused. It did not matter whether they were boys or girls. They could not get away with bullying his sister. He took Qian-fei and Du-hao to find them. Sang-ji was worried that the 3 men would start a fight. After Sang-yen found the 3 girls, he knocked the cigarette pack out of the lead girl's hand. She asked who he was. Sang-yen told her who he was and demanded that they return Sang-ji's wallet and 50 yuan. The girls brushed it off, saying it was not much money. One of them, nervously, said they could simply return the money now. Sang-yen told them that even if they had taken only 2 yuan, they still had to make things right. Du-hao stepped forward and asked which girl was in charge. He did not lay a hand on them. He warned them that picking on someone weaker proved nothing and told them never to threaten another student again. Once the warning was over, Sang-yen and Du-hao no longer looked so stern. Sang-yen proudly handed the wallet back to his sister. Du-hao saw Sang-ji puffing out her cheeks as she ate her lollipop. He said she looked like a pufferfish. Sang-ji immediately replied that Du-hao looked more like a pufferfish. Du-hao asked her for a lollipop and said he would show her a handsome pufferfish. Sang-ji ignored him. Sang-yen simply took the lollipop from her hand. Sang-ji pulled out 20 yuan and told Du-hao to buy his own candy. Du-hao said he had only been joking and told her to keep the money. Sang-ji said the 20 yuan could repay part of what she owed him. Du-hao accepted the money and teased her by thanking her for the allowance. When Sang-ji saw the lollipop in Sang-yen's mouth, she snatched it back without hesitation. No matter how loudly her brother protested, she refused to return it. Everyone joked that Du Hao seemed more like Sang Ji's real brother. Sang Ji said nothing. She thought about the light bulb Du Hao had given her in middle school. Du Hao had originally asked her to give it to her father. Instead, she had secretly installed it beside her bed. The bulb had a drawing of Du Hao and a younger Sang Ji on it. Even back then, she had wanted to grow up quickly so she could help others the way Du Hao did. Later, the teacher announced that Ru was transferring schools for personal reasons. She would no longer be in class with them. Before leaving, Ru placed a note on Sang Ji's desk. Sang Ji watched Ru leave the classroom with her parents. She said nothing and quietly looked out the window. Several students had recently been threatened and extorted near the school. The teacher reminded everyone to tell a teacher and their parents immediately if anything similar happened. The school would protect them. Sang Ji looked down at the note Ru had left. It contained only one sentence. "I'm sorry." Later, Sang Ji scored only 66 on her physics exam. Her parents first asked Sang Yen to tutor her. The siblings started arguing almost immediately. Sang Yen admitted that he could not teach her at all. Their parents had no choice but to hire another tutor. The next morning, Sang Ji walked downstairs with her backpack. She shouted toward the kitchen and told Sang Yen to cook instant noodles. She also complained that the tutor was late on the first day. When Sang Yen came downstairs, Sang Ji realized that the person in the kitchen was not her brother. Du Hao was standing in front of the stove. He was the tutor her parents had hired. Du Hao followed Sang Ji's instructions and added 2 sausages and 1 egg to the instant noodles. Embarrassed, Sang Ji hid beside the couch instead of coming to the table. She only came over after Du Hao called her. Du Hao said Sang Yen had called her several times, but she had not woken up. Sang Ji explained that she had stayed up late doing homework and had not heard him calling. Sang Yen said he would put firecrackers outside her door next time and wake her up with them. With Du Hao as her tutor, Sang Ji suddenly became eager to study. After breakfast, she ran back to her room and grabbed her textbooks. She then urged Du Hao to start the lesson. Du Hao told her to read first. He took out the lesson materials and resume he had prepared. It was the first time Sang Ji had seen Du Hao's name written out. When she saw Du Hao and Sang Yen still playing video games, Sang Ji secretly pulled out her phone and took a picture. The moment she lined up the shot, Du Hao noticed her. He played along and flashed a peace sign. Sang Yen asked why she was only taking pictures of Du Hao. He also suspected that she wanted to photograph them playing games and report them to their parents. Sang Ji claimed that one of her classmates wanted a picture of her brother. She added that taking a picture of Sang Yen would be too embarrassing. Sang Yen grew even more annoyed and called her back to scold her. Du Hao said he would tutor her 3 days a week during winter break. 3 days did not sound like too much to Sang Ji. She asked whether he could teach her every day. Du Hao explained that he had an internship 4 days a week and had set aside the other 3 days for her. Du Hao looked over Sang Ji's physics test. He quickly noticed that she had not paid attention in class. Sang Ji argued that she had listened but had not understood. Du Hao pointed out that the conservation of energy question was not difficult. Sang Ji had even mixed up the answer choices. She admitted that she might not have listened carefully. Still, she said she probably would not have understood it even if she had. Du Hao reminded her that he had told her before to pay attention in class. Sang Ji said that had been a long time ago. She asked whether he could remind her every day. Du Hao told her to bring him her physics textbook so they could start again with the basics. Sang Ji struggled with the basics of physics, but she listened carefully during every lesson. She told Du Hao that his lessons were more interesting than those of her other tutors. During one lesson, Sang Ji asked why Du Hao had gone to college in Nanwu instead of staying in Yihe. Du Hao said he did not want to stay in Yihe forever. Nanwu also had a stronger video game industry. He wanted to work in the gaming industry, so he had chosen Nanwu. Sang Ji listened without taking her eyes off him. After that, Sang Ji made sure she was ready early for every tutoring session. During one lesson, Du Hao looked tired after working late the night before. Sang Ji offered to do her homework first and let him check it later, so he could rest for a while. Du Hao suspected that she wanted to avoid studying or convince her parents to replace him. Sang Ji quickly denied it. After assigning her some work, Du Hao lay down on the couch and quickly fell asleep. Sang Ji found a coat and covered him with it. Instead of doing the test paper he had assigned, she stayed beside him and forgot all about it. When Du-hao woke up, he saw that she had not finished the assignment. Instead, he checked a test paper she had completed over the weekend. He pointed out that Sang-ji had confused the direction a negative charge moves with the direction of electric current. He teased her by saying that he must not have taught her well enough. Sang-ji quickly told him to have more confidence. She admitted that she could not remember the material and thought physics was boring. To make physics more interesting for Sang-ji, Du-hao suggested taking her to the science museum. Sang-yen was worried that Du-hao might stop tutoring her, so he immediately agreed. On the day of the science museum trip, Sang-yen took enough money for 3 tickets, but bought only 2. He kept the rest so he could go to an internet cafe. At the museum, Du-hao took Sang-ji down the curved slide. Then he showed her a tsunami projection and a thermoelectric sensor. When she held her palm near the sensor, a flower slowly bloomed in response to the heat. Du-hao told her that what she learned in class went beyond textbooks. It could connect to the kind of work she wanted to do in the future. Sang-ji asked what his life had been like when he was 14. Du-hao said he had been allowed to play video games for only 1 hour each week. For that 1 hour, he could set aside the problems in his life. That was why he wanted to create games that could give others the same kind of happiness. Sang-ji promised to study hard and find something she truly wanted to do. They agreed to work hard together. Sang-ji also sketched the moment in her sketchbook. When Du-hao saw her drawing, he encouraged her to keep drawing. Sang-ji suddenly told him not to date anyone. She said dating would interfere with his dreams. Du-hao asked why he could not date when he was almost finished with college. Sang-ji said that if Du-hao got a girlfriend, he might not treat her as well as he did now. Du-hao promised to find someone who would treat Sang-ji just as well. Sang-ji then demanded that he bring any future girlfriend to meet her first. After returning home, Sang-ji discovered that her sketchbook was missing. She called the science museum and learned that the sketchbook had already been given to Du-hao. The sketchbook contained many drawings of Du-hao. Sang-ji was worried that he would see them. Early the next morning, Sang-yen returned the sketchbook to Sang-ji. Du-hao had made a special trip to bring it over on his way to work. Sang-ji started wondering whether Du-hao had already seen the drawings inside. Sang-yen thought Sang-ji was dating someone online, and he was furious. When he returned to the dorm, he told Du-hao what had happened. He asked Du-hao to skip Tuesday's tutoring session and come on Thursday instead. Sang-yen said Sang-ji had admitted that she was dating someone online. He had scolded her for a long time and confiscated her phone and computer. Du-hao said it was normal for someone Sang-ji's age to have feelings for another person. They only needed to make sure she understood the boundaries. Sang-yen refused to let his sister date someone online. He also threatened to force her to end it or confront the other person himself. Du-hao did not know that the online relationship was made up. Sang-ji had invented it only to hide what was in her sketchbook. When Du-hao came to tutor her, she had no choice but to continue the lie. Sang-ji sank into the couch and pretended that she had just gone through a breakup. When Du-hao questioned her, she said the other person was in his 20s and about to graduate from college. She also claimed that he had asked her to meet him in Ihi. Du-hao's expression turned serious. He first asked whether the man knew Sang-ji's real age. He then reminded her that her parents were stopping her because they were worried she might get hurt. Sang-ji shifted the conversation back to Du-hao. She said it would be hard for her if someone close to her started dating. It would be even harder if she had to watch that person date someone else. Du-hao did not continue discussing the subject. He only warned her not to meet the man secretly in Ihi before she became an adult. Sang-ji did not explain further. Du-hao did not ask any more questions. After studying with Du-hao for a while, Sang-ji's physics grade improved significantly. On her next test, she missed only one multiple-choice question and scored 97. However, Du-hao stopped tutoring her after that exam. He promised her a gift if her grades improved again after school resumed. Even so, Sang-ji looked disappointed. On Lunar New Year's Eve, Sang-ji's parents invited Du-hao to celebrate with them. Du-hao said the school was also providing a New Year's Eve dinner and red envelopes. He politely declined their invitation. Sang-yen kept urging him to stay, but Du-hao still declined. Sang-ji returned to her room and took out the red envelope she had already prepared. She wrote a New Year's greeting and folded the note into a small star. Downstairs, Sang-ji's father asked, Du Hao about his plans after graduation. Du Hao said he planned to remain at the gaming company where he had interned. While Du Hao was not looking, Sang Ji slipped the red envelope into his coat pocket. That evening, the family ate New Year's Eve dinner together. Sang Ji's father prepared red envelopes for everyone and returned Sang Ji's phone. Sang Ji told her parents that she had deleted the online contact and would not speak to him again. That same night, Du Hao ate a boxed meal alone in his dorm. He suddenly received a call from a nursing home in Yihe. His father had developed a severe buildup of fluid in his lungs because of an infection. He needed to be transferred to another hospital immediately. Du Hao quickly packed his things and went to the airport that night. While waiting to board, he found the red envelope Sang Ji had secretly placed in his coat pocket. Inside, he found a bag of candy and a small paper star. After reading the greeting Sang Ji had written, Du Hao's eyes turned red. Soon afterward, Sang Ji received a small black dog plush toy from Du Hao. He had mailed it from Yihe. When Sang Ji learned that Du Hao was coming back for graduation, she prepared a tie for him. On the day of the ceremony, she went to the campus with her father and brother. When she saw Du Hao, she shyly hid behind her father. Du Hao greeted her first. Sang Ji then handed him her bouquet of sunflowers. She said the flowers were for her physics tutor. She congratulated him on graduating and told him she hoped he would be happy every day. Du Hao wished his student a bright future and told her to keep doing well in school. The graduation ceremony was about to begin. Sang Ji hesitated for so long that she never gave him the tie. She helped take group photos of Du Hao with his teachers and classmates. Everyone kept saying how difficult it would be to meet again after graduation. Hearing that, Sang Ji worried that she might not see Du Hao again either. Du Hao told her that she was different from his classmates. None of his classmates would secretly put a red envelope in his pocket or make a special trip to bring him flowers. He promised to visit Sang Ji whenever he had time. Du Hao asked one of his classmates to take a picture of the two of them. Sang Ji stood beside him, happy but embarrassed. During the graduation gathering, everyone urged Du Hao to drink beer. Du Hao said he normally did not drink alcohol. The others told him to drink cola instead. The group grew quiet as they talked about how hard it might be to see one another after graduation. One of the students asked who would help Du Hao if something went wrong after everyone had left. Du Hao joked that plenty of people were willing to help him. Another student explained that Du Hao and one of their roommates were both going home. That student and Sang Yan would be the only two left in Nanwu. After the gathering, Du Hao took the drunk Sang Yan home. Sang Yan kept asking Du Hao to promise that he would take care of himself after returning to Yihe. Du Hao had planned to spend the night at a nearby hotel. However, Sang Ji's mother asked him to stay at their house. She told Sang Ji to prepare new toiletries and a bath towel for him. Sang Ji also asked whether Du Hao wanted some soup to help him sober up. Du Hao told her he had not been drinking, so she did not need to bother. In the middle of the night, Sang Ji saw Du Hao sitting outside alone. She asked why he was not sleeping. Du Hao said he was not used to sleeping there and could not fall asleep. Sang Ji offered to wake Sang Yan so Du Hao could sleep on the couch in her brother's room. Du Hao refused. When he remained silent, Sang Ji stopped asking questions and quietly sat beside him. A long time passed before Du Hao told her that he had many debts to repay. Sang Ji thought he meant money. She immediately said she would work hard, earn money, and help him repay those debts someday. Du Hao told her he was not talking about money. It was not a debt she needed to carry. He patted Sang Ji's head and told her not to worry about it. Sang Ji did not argue with him. After returning to her room, she wrote her secret on another note. Before dawn the next morning, Du Hao cleaned the room and left. When he reached the ground floor, he turned around and saw Sang Ji standing on the balcony. Du Hao gestured for her to call him and waved goodbye. He sent her a message saying he had to catch an early flight back to Yihe. He asked Sang Ji to explain the situation to her parents for him. He also told her to study hard and send him the results of every exam. He reminded her not to forget their previous promise. During her second year of high school, Sang Ji set her sights on Yihe University. It was in the city where Du Hao lived. Her grades were still below the university's admission cutoff. However, she worked toward that goal every day. She also drew a map connecting Yihe and Nanwu in her sketchbook. Whenever her grades improved, Sang Ji told Du Hao. As promised, he sent her gifts. One day, Sang Ji went into the kitchen to play a trick on her brother. She accidentally overheard Sang Yen saying that Du Hao might have a girlfriend. Qian Fei had told Sang Yen, but neither of them knew whether the rumor was true. After hearing it, Sang Ji returned to her room without eating her noodles. She wanted to message Du Hao and ask him directly. Still, she did not quite believe the rumor. After hesitating, she decided to go to Yi He herself. When Sang Yen learned that his sister was at the airport, he told her to stay put and wait for Du Hao. Sang Yen also warned her not to meet the man she had claimed to be dating online. No matter what, her parents called soon afterward. Before her father could scold her, her mother told Sang Ji to stay safe. Du Hao soon arrived at the airport. A young woman was with him. The moment Du Hao saw Sang Ji, he asked why she had come to Yi He alone and broken their agreement. Sang Ji did not explain. She only stared at the woman and asked whether she was Du Hao's girlfriend. She then demanded to know why Du Hao had broken his promise. He had said he would tell her before he started dating anyone. Du Hao did not answer. He draped his coat over her shoulders. Then he asked whether she had met the man she had been talking to online. Sang Ji cried and said the man thought she was too young and did not like her. Du Hao told her that turning her down was the right thing to do. She was still too young, and she could think about dating once she was an adult. Sang Ji said that by the time she grew up, that person might already like someone else. Du Hao did not understand what she meant. He only comforted her and said she would meet someone better in the future. Sang Ji looked at the girl beside him. Tears streamed down her face again. She stopped arguing and said she wanted to go home. Du Hao checked the available flights for her. The girl beside him offered to go with Sang Ji to the restroom, but Sang Ji refused. Sang Ji hid around a corner and cried alone for a long time. By the time she came out, the girl had already left. Du Hao bought her some food. Sang Ji had no appetite, but forced down a few bites. Before they parted, Sang Ji took out the tie she had been unable to give him at graduation. She handed it to Du Hao. While Du Hao took a phone call, she slipped the money for the plane ticket into his wallet. Sang Ji also returned the small bear Du Hao had won for her. She told Du Hao that even if he started dating someone, he did not need to tell her anymore. Du Hao told her to listen to her parents when she got home. He also told her not to let this affect her studies. Sang Ji only said she hoped he would be happy every day. Du Hao said the same thing to her. Sang Ji turned and walked away. After walking a short distance, she turned back to look at him. When Sang Yen saw his sister, he had planned to scold her. Instead, he only told her they were going home. He told Sang Ji that their mother had already asked her tutor to excuse her. When Sang Yen saw how downcast she looked, he offered to take her out for crispy taro duck. Sang Ji suddenly burst into tears. Sang Yen kept trying to comfort her. He even promised to buy her the comics he usually refused to buy for her. On the way home, Sang Yen warned her again. Taking her ID and buying a plane ticket on her own had been extremely dangerous. Their parents had also been worried sick. Sang Ji told her brother that there had never been an online friend. She had only wanted to ask Du Hao whether he still remembered the promise they had made. When Sang Ji returned home, she found the house unusually quiet. Her father worked as usual, and her mother cooked as usual. No one blamed her. Sang Yen told her to go to her room and change her clothes. Their mother wanted to speak with Sang Ji again, but Sang Yen stopped her. He told their parents that the so-called online friend had not returned Sang Ji's feelings. Her feelings had been one-sided. Sang Yen said Sang Ji had decided to cut off contact and would not go looking for him again. Their parents decided not to criticize her any further. They only took away her ID and phone for the time being. Back in her room, Sang Ji tore up her dream map. She placed everything connected to Du Hao inside a box. When she saw the fox plush on her bed, her eyes still turned red. On the note, Sang Ji had written that she had found her dream and wanted to get into Yi He University. Sang Ji crossed Du Hao's name off the note. 2 years later, Sang Ji was accepted into Yi He University. There, she met several roommates, including Ming Wei and Hu Li. Li Ming, a student athlete, had once helped them. Because of that, they invited him to Ning Wei's birthday party. On the day of the party, Sang Ji followed her roommates into the private room. Du Hao was walking toward her through the crowd. It was the first time they had been this close in 2 years. Neither of them saw the other. They walked right past each other. A co-worker introduced Du Hao to a woman and tried to set them up. Du Hao only greeted her politely. Inside the private room, Li Ming struck up a conversation with Sang Ji and asked about her interests. Ningwei quickly pulled Sang Ji away. Sang Ji picked up her coat and headed out for some air. As she stepped outside, a pack of cigarettes fell from her pocket. She was about to bend down and pick it up when she heard a familiar voice behind her. Du Hao saw the cigarettes and assumed Sang Ji had started smoking. He immediately confiscated them. Sang Ji explained that a friend had put the cigarettes in her pocket by mistake. They were not hers. Du Hao then smelled alcohol on her and asked whether she had also been drinking. Sang Ji admitted that she had only had a little. Du Hao pointed out that after all this time, she still had not called him by name. Sang Ji reluctantly called him by name again. Du Hao had expected Sang Ji to contact him after arriving in Yihe, but she never did. She had not contacted him even during the 7-day National Day holiday. Sang Ji argued that she had just begun her freshman year. She might have been just as busy as he had been during his senior year. Du Hao noticed that she was bringing up their age difference again. He then offered to take her back to school. Sang Ji refused and said she would be going back with her classmates. Du Hao also noticed that Sang Ji wore makeup now. She really did look different from before. Sang Ji returned to the private room and continued celebrating Ning Wei's birthday with everyone. Her mother checked in with her every night. Since her roommates planned to stay until 11, Sang Ji had to leave early. After walking out of the room, she ran into Du Hao again. Sang Ji stressed that she had grown up and was no longer a child. Du Hao said that no matter how old she got, she would still be a kid. Sang Ji quietly called him an old man. Du Hao immediately asked whom she was insulting. Sang Ji refused to admit it. Du Hao called himself the old man and insisted on taking her back to school. On the way, Sang Ji asked where Du Hao lived. Sang Ji learned that Du Hao lived in the opposite direction from her school. She told him he did not need to go out of his way. Du Hao said he was still taking her back. He also intended to settle the score over the old man comment. Sang Ji argued that among young people, calling someone an old man was not always an insult. Du Hao did not accept her explanation. He only asked how much alcohol she had drunk that night. He reminded Sang Ji to be careful and not drink around people she barely knew. Sang Ji explained that everyone in the private room was a classmate. Du Hao asked outright whether she had something against him. Sang Ji said she did not like him constantly calling her a kid. Du Hao explained that they were 6 years apart. Even after Sang Ji got married, her parents would still see her as their child. Sang Ji asked whether he wanted to be her father. Du Hao had no answer for a moment. Sang Ji then asked what he did for work. When she learned that he was developing a game, she asked for its name. Du Hao suddenly remembered the online friend Sang Ji had mentioned before. He asked whether she had applied to Yihe University because of that online friend. Sang Ji immediately denied it. Du Hao did not understand Sang Yan's reaction. If Sang Ji had not come to Yihe for the online friend, why had her brother been angry? Sang Ji said she had cut off contact with the online friend long ago. She had also told her parents in advance that she was applying to Yihe University. Sang Yan had never asked about it. She thought her brother did not care, so she had not told him herself. Sang Ji again stressed that she was already an adult and knew what she was doing. She also told Du Hao that she did not like him still treating her like a kid. Du Hao admitted that Sang Ji had grown up. He told her she had come all the way to Yihe for college on her own. She could come to him whenever she ran into trouble. The things he had said earlier were only jokes. He did not really think Sang Ji was ungrateful. Then Du Hao brought up the old man comment again and refused to let it go. Sang Ji had to apologize properly. Du Hao asked her to have dinner with him when she had time. He also handed her the honey water he had bought for her in a rush. Du Hao said he was alone in Yihe. When Sang Yan told him that she was coming there for college, he had been happy. They wished each other good night and went their separate ways. After a few steps, Sang Ji turned and watched Du Hao walk away. Back at the dorm, Sang Ji remembered Du Hao saying that he was alone in Yihe. She also wondered why he had said that when his home was in Yihe. She wondered who the girl with him at the airport had been. Du Hao then sent her a message. He reminded her to have someone accompany her whenever she returned to school late. After replying, Sang Ji looked through their chat history. Du Hao had kept sending her messages over the past 2 years. She had never replied. Early the next morning, her roommates were discussing Li Ming. Sang Yen was also scolding Sang Ji over text for drinking the night before. Li Ming also sent her a message. He said he could walk her back to school whenever it got late. The messages from Du Hao and Li Ming were almost identical. This time, Sang Ji replied only to Du Hao. Her roommates noticed and asked whom she was talking to. Sang Ji described her own experience as if it had happened to a friend. She said this friend had fallen for her brother's friend in high school. The man later started dating someone, so her friend gave up. They had recently met again. Her friend did not know whether to keep liking him or treat him as just a friend. Her roommates first asked what the man did for work. Sang Ji said he was helping develop one of the year's most popular mobile games. One roommate immediately became interested. Ning Wei reminded everyone that the game was not the point. The real question was whether the man currently had a girlfriend. Sang Ji said he probably did not. Her roommate said that if she still liked him, she should pursue him. If she no longer liked him, she should treat him as just a friend. Sang Ji worried that Du Hao might always see her only as his friend's younger sister. When her roommates learned that she had liked him in high school, they said she had been too young at the time. It had been normal for him not to respond. If an adult had liked her while she was still a minor, that would have been the problem. Ning Wei then asked what kind of man he was. Sang Ji described him as handsome, smart, and charming. Ning Wei concluded that he probably already had a girlfriend. Sang Ji did not continue the conversation. Sang Yen later sent Sang Ji a voice message. He told her to treat Du Hao to a meal when she had time. Sang Yen said Du Hao had often asked about Sang Ji over the previous 2 years. Du Hao wanted to know about her grades and how she was doing, because Du Hao worried that asking her directly might put pressure on her. He always went through Sang Yen. He had also sent Sang Ji gifts for every birthday and holiday, as well as whenever her grades improved. Sang Yen reminded his sister that Du Hao did not have much money. Even so, he still prepared gifts for her on important occasions. After hearing her brother's message, Sang Ji looked at Du Hao's messages again. At that moment, Du Hao was attending a project meeting at his company. He proposed the Tianyan system again. The team's technology was not ready yet, and completing the system would be risky. After hesitating for a long time, Sang Ji sent him a message anyway. She asked when he was free because she wanted to treat him to dinner. Sang Ji rewrote the message to make it sound especially formal. When Du Hao saw it, he called her directly. He told Sang Ji that he should be free the following weekend. He could not confirm the exact time yet. Sang Ji said she could work around his schedule. Du Hao asked why she was suddenly being so polite with him. He teased Sang Ji by asking whether she had started treating him like an elder. Sang Ji did not know how to respond. She said her family had always taught her to respect people older than her. She made a point of reminding Du Hao that his voice might sound young, but it could not hide his age. Before ending the call, Sang Ji explained why she had not replied to his earlier messages. She had not taken her phone with her while living at school. Du Hao told her that Sang Yen had already explained that. Sang Ji then understood that Du Hao had been teasing her all along. Around the same time, Ning Wei and Chen Qi started dating. Li Ming also invited Sang Ji to see a movie. The movie was scheduled for the same day she planned to have dinner with Du Hao. Sang Ji worried that eating alone with Du Hao would be awkward. She accepted Li Ming's invitation and planned to use the movie as a reason to leave dinner early. Meanwhile, Du Hao received a package of health supplements from a woman named Jin Yi. His expression darkened as soon as he saw the sender's name. He threw the package into the storage room. He then sent Jin Yi the final compensation payment. He made it clear that she should not contact him again. The company later approved Du Hao's proposal. But while he rushed through breakfast and continued working during the meeting, the pain in his abdomen kept getting worse. He forced himself to stay until the meeting ended, even though Sang Ji had already been waiting for him for a long time. When Du Hao finally answered her call, he said he could not make it and told her to eat without him. Sang Ji heard that something was wrong with his voice. After she pressed him, he admitted that his stomach hurt, but still wanted to take medicine and keep working. Sang Ji stopped arguing and asked for his company's address. By the time she reached Gangbei Tower, Du Hao's face had already turned pale. They struggled to find a cab. As they got in, they turned at the same time and accidentally bumped into each other. Du Hao's lips brushed against her forehead. At the hospital, the examination showed that it was more than a simple stomachache. Du Hao had acute appendicitis, and he had already delayed treatment for too long. The doctor warned that his appendix could rupture if he waited any longer. He could either remain in the hospital for anti-inflammatory treatment or have surgery immediately. Du Hao chose surgery, even as he was being wheeled into the operating room. He urged Sang Ji to return to her dorm. She refused and insisted on waiting until the operation was over. Without their dinner plans, Du Hao probably would have kept taking medicine and pushing through the pain. Sang Ji stayed at the hospital and missed her scheduled call home. When her mother learned that Du Hao was in surgery, she told Sang Ji about his family. His mother had died years earlier, while his father had remained unconscious in a care facility for years. Du Hao had continued working while paying off his family's debts. After his mother's funeral, he had only 6,000 yuan left. He gave all of it to Sang Ji's parents and promised to repay the rest through part-time work. In less than 6 months, he had cleared the remaining debt. Even now, Du Hao had no family members nearby who could take care of him. After the surgery, Sang Ji prepared everything he needed for his hospital stay. She still refused to leave Du Hao alone in the room. She had brought only bread for her own dinner. Du Hao wanted to order food for her, but she stopped him. While Sang Ji wiped his face, she stared at him for too long. Du Hao suddenly opened his eyes. Sang Ji was so startled that she hid in the restroom. That night, a voice message from Li Ming about their movie plans played aloud by accident. Du Hao was clearly still awake. He questioned her about Li Ming, saying he was worried she might be tricked. The next day, Sang Ji said she would not bring him his computer, but when she went to his apartment to pack his things, she brought the computer back to the hospital anyway. Outside his apartment, she found Jean E repeatedly knocking on the door. The two women did not know each other at the time. During Du Hao's hospital stay, the elderly man in the next room kept mistaking Sang Ji for Du Hao's girlfriend. Du Hao played along with the old man's jokes. Sang Ji became increasingly uncomfortable. On the day Du Hao was discharged, the old man again urged them to get married soon. Frustrated, Sang Ji said they would get married as soon as possible. Once they left the room, she immediately told Du Hao not to joke about their relationship again. Du Hao apologized. He explained that after being in the hospital for so long, he had simply gone along with the old man. Sang Ji asked whether being bored gave him the right to make jokes about her. Back at his apartment, Sang Ji cleaned the room for Du Hao. She thought about the way Du Hao had treated her over the past 2 years. Du Hao had never noticed the feelings she had hidden. The hospital jokes also made her feel that Du Hao still saw her as nothing more than his friend's younger sister. Sang Ji put sticky notes on the refrigerator, couch, and light switches. She wrote down everything he needed to remember during his recovery. Once everything was arranged, she prepared to leave. Du Hao offered to walk her downstairs, but Sang Ji firmly refused. Before leaving, she changed Du Hao's contact name to Older Brother Number 2. After Sang Ji left, Du Hao looked at the sticky notes around his apartment. He carefully replied to every note. Once Du Hao saw that Sang Ji was genuinely angry, he asked Su Yun to meet him. Su Yun was both his friend and supervisor. He also invited another co-worker. Su Yun said Sang Ji was already an adult. Du Hao could no longer joke about feelings the way he had when she was younger. The other co-worker had assumed Du Hao was having relationship problems. He had not expected Du Hao to ask them to meet just to talk about his friend's younger sister. Su Yun told Du Hao to invite Sang Ji to dinner and explain himself properly. Du Hao picked up his phone and hesitated over whether to contact Sang Ji. Jean, he called him at that moment. She demanded to meet Du Hao. Du Hao again told her that they should stop contacting each other. Jean, he asked whether he planned to cut her off completely. Du Hao did not continue arguing. He hung up. Sang Ji later went to the movie with Li Ming. When a chicken appeared in the movie, Li Ming was terrified. Sang Ji kept watching, completely absorbed in the film. On New Year's Eve, her roommates went to Central Square for the countdown. Sang Ji disliked the cold and crowded places. She stayed alone in the dorm. She had just picked up her takeout when Du Hao called. Du Hao said his company was holding a dinner where employees could bring family members. He wanted Sang Ji to attend with him. Sang Ji asked what kind of family member she was supposed to be. She then refused the invitation. Du Hao offered to have dinner alone with her instead. He also reminded Sang Ji that she still owed him a meal. Before Sang Ji could refuse again, he had already booked a restaurant. He said he was almost at her school. Sang Ji had no choice but to change her clothes and go out. At the restaurant, Du Hao asked why she had not celebrated New Year's Eve with her roommates. Sang Ji explained that she had a good relationship with them. She simply did not want to go to the cold and crowded Central Square. Du Hao asked why she had agreed to come out as soon as he called. Sang Ji said she had only come because she worried he would think she was avoiding the meal she owed him. Du Hao told her he had only been joking. He then gave her a proper apology for the jokes he had made at the hospital. Sang Ji said she had never taken the incident seriously. Du Hao decided to pay for dinner as an apology. Sang Ji insisted that she should pay for the meal. Du Hao asked whether eating this one meal meant they would never need to see each other again. While they were talking, Jeannie entered the restaurant with a friend and walked straight to their table. She picked up a glass of water and threw it in Du Hao's face. Sang Ji immediately threw her own water back at Jeannie. When Jeannie raised a hand to hit her, Du Hao stepped between them and pushed Jeannie away. Jeannie demanded to know who Sang Ji was. She also accused Du Hao of thinking he could escape her simply because he had paid the compensation. The restaurant owner escorted Jeannie outside, leaving Du Hao standing there in silence. Sang Ji led him out of the restaurant, wiped the water from his face, and wrapped his scarf around him. When she asked about Jeannie, Du Hao only said that her family was connected to his father's accident. Sang Ji mentioned seeing Jeannie outside his apartment when she went there to pick up his things. Once he learned that the two women had only passed each other, he let the matter drop. Sang Ji wondered whether Jeannie treated him this way every time she appeared. The compensation might have been connected to his father's accident, she said, but that did not give Jeannie the right to take all her resentment out on him. She told Du Hao to stop letting Jeannie treat him that way. Noticing that the hot water had left his face red, Sang Ji took out some ointment and applied it. Du Hao thanked her. Snow began falling in Yi. Sang Ji looked up and made a wish. She wanted Du Hao to be free of everything that made him unhappy, with someone beside him who would never leave. She hoped that person would be her. Du Hao told her that snow was rare in Yi. The last time it had snowed was when he was a freshman in high school. Sang Ji said she was very lucky. Du Hao made a wish too. When they asked what the other had wished for, neither answered because saying it aloud might keep it from coming true. As the snow grew heavier, Du Hao kept watching Sang Ji. After they parted, Du Hao returned home and found Jeannie waiting outside his door. Crying, she apologized and asked whether repaying the money meant he planned to cut all ties with her. Du Hao asked what else he owed. Jeannie insisted that because his father had caused her father's death, Du Hao would owe her for the rest of his life. He told her that he had paid all the compensation he owed and that his father had already paid the price for what had happened. Then he shut the door, leaving Jeannie outside. She continued shouting through the door, reminding him that his mother had promised to take care of her and her mother forever. After the accident, Du Hao's mother had taken him to apologize and promised that she and Du Hao would always take responsibility for them. Du Hao and Jeannie had once been classmates, but after the accident, their classmates began calling him the son of a murderer. Some even said he should not be allowed to stay in school. Du Hao never responded. Back in his room, he apologized to his late mother. Looking at her photograph, he said he could not keep taking care of Jeannie forever. Then he saw a photo of himself and Sang Ji and remembered what she had just told him. As New Year's fireworks went off outside, Du Hao went up to the rooftop alone. Sang Ji sent him a message wishing him happiness every day. He wished her a happy new year in return and sent her a photo of the fireworks. Du Hao changed her contact name to Gigi, but after remembering Jeannie's harassment, he hesitated and decided not to save it. Qian Fei then sent him a message announcing that he was getting married. He called Du Hao excitedly and told him how the proposal had gone. When Qian Fei asked about Du Hao's love life, Du Hao suddenly went silent. Qian Fei immediately noticed something was wrong and asked who the woman was. Du Hao did not answer. He only told Qian Fei to go to bed early. The next day, Sang Ji texted Du Hao to say she was bringing a digital door viewer to his company. Du Hao had just finished a meeting when he learned that Jeannie was causing trouble downstairs. Worried that Sang Ji might run into her, he called Sang Ji several times. Sang Ji's phone had run out of battery, so she never answered. After security stopped Jeannie, Du Hao ran out through a side entrance. When he found Sang Ji, he first asked why she had not answered her phone. Sang Ji explained that her battery had died and that she had already sent him a message. Du Hao did not tell her that Jeannie was nearby. He only told her not to come directly to his company or home again. She needed to contact him before visiting. Sang Ji handed him the digital door viewer and quickly left. Back at the dorm, Sang Ji kept waiting for Du Hao to call and explain. But Du Hao never contacted her. Su Yun reminded Du Hao that Sang Ji had been lucky not to see Jin Yi. Otherwise, there was no telling what Jin Yi might have done. Du Hao wanted to keep Sang Ji out of anything involving Jin Yi. After hesitating, Du Hao sent her a message. He only asked when her exams were and whether she had bought her plane ticket. Sang Ji immediately brightened when she saw his message. But after sending him a thoughtful reply, all she received was a simple, "Okay." Du Hao wrote down the date Sang Ji was going home and invited her to dinner. Sang Ji deliberately replied that she might not have time. Du Hao assumed she was going out with her classmates. He did not try to persuade her and simply replied, "Okay." Sang Ji was disappointed again. Ningwei had argued with Qinqi and was in a terrible mood. Sang Ji was feeling down too, so she suggested they go to a bar for drinks after their exams. Hu Li had noticed that Sang Ji had been acting differently since delivering the digital door viewer. She guessed it was for the older friend Sang Ji often mentioned, the one who always looked after her like a brother. Sang Ji only said that something had happened that day and that she might have been thinking too much. Hu Li told her that if the man did not treat her well, she should try to move on. Sang Ji tried to defend Du Hao, but stopped before finishing. After their exams, the group went to a bar. Li Ming offered to take Sang Ji to the airport the next day, but she immediately refused. Sang Ji rarely drank, but this time she ordered alcohol on her own. Du Hao texted and offered to take her to the airport. Sang Ji looked at the message, but did not reply. Li Ming went on stage and sang a song. He had wanted to dedicate it to Sang Ji, but did not say so directly. After waiting for a reply that never came, Du Hao called her. It was so noisy in the background that Du Hao asked where she was. Sang Ji admitted that she was at a bar. Du Hao asked for the name of the bar. He then told her to stay where she was and wait for him. Sang Ji asked why he was coming to find her after telling her not to visit him. Du Hao only said he was coming to get a drunk girl. Sang Ji said goodbye to her roommates and prepared to leave early. Li Ming followed her outside and offered her his coat. Sang Ji did not take it. Li Ming was about to tell her that he had sung the song for her, but Sang Ji suddenly felt sick and crouched on the ground. Li Ming stepped forward to help her. Just then, Du Hao arrived and saw them. He walked over and told Li Ming to let go of Sang Ji. Li Ming assumed Du Hao was Sang Ji's older brother. After introducing himself, he returned to the bar. Du Hao scolded Sang Ji for drinking so much. Sang Ji asked why she still could not drink when she was already an adult. She brought up what Du Hao had told her before. He had clearly said that once she grew up, she could do whatever she wanted. But now that she had grown up, there were still many things she was not allowed to do. Sang Ji took a few steps, crouched by the roadside, and said she wanted to throw up. Du Hao told her to throw up if she needed to, and tried to help her find a nearby place to rest. Sang Ji refused to move. As soon as Du Hao helped her stand, she threw up all over him. Du Hao did not move away and continued holding her steady. Sang Ji took a few more steps and sat down by the road. Du Hao offered to carry her back, but Sang Ji remembered that Du Hao had recently undergone surgery. He was not allowed to do heavy physical work for 3 months. She learned that the 3 months were already over. Only then did she agree to let him carry her. Sang Ji then worried that she was too heavy and refused to climb onto his back. Still drunk and confused, Sang Ji started rambling about her weight. She sat on the ground and cried. Du Hao held back a laugh as he helped her up. In the end, he carried her on his back. As Du Hao carried her, Sang Ji revealed a secret she had kept for a long time. She really liked someone, but he did not feel the same way. Du Hao asked who she liked. Even though she was drunk, Sang Ji still refused to say his name. Since she would not say his name, Du Hao asked what kind of man he was and whether he treated her well. Sang Ji said the man was wonderful and treated her very well, but he treated everyone around him just as well. Du Hao told her she should stop liking someone who treated everyone the same way. Sang Ji continued crying against his back. Du Hao took her to the school entrance. He stood beside the car and watched Sang Ji sleeping inside. Du Hao said he could become the kind of man she liked, but he would treat only Sang Ji that way. He did not want her to keep feeling sad over someone else. Du Hao told the sleeping Sang Ji that his life was slowly getting better. His debts were paid off. He was only a little older than she was. When he was 21, Sang Ji had already called him old. But now, she was almost 19. Du Hao reached out, wanting to touch Sang Ji's face. After hesitating, he pulled his hand back again. Sang Ji woke up the next day and remembered throwing up on Du Hao. She immediately regretted it. She did not remember anything Du Hao had said inside the car. Du Hao sent her a message saying he would pick her up at 10 and take her to the airport. Sang Ji was about to get out of bed when she saw all her roommates gathered around her. She asked whether Du Hao had been angry when he brought her back. Her roommates immediately asked what she had done the night before. Sang Ji swore that she would never drink again. Huli guessed that she might have thrown up. Sang Ji did not answer and hurriedly began packing. After the night before, Sang Ji had no idea how to face Du Hao. She slowly walked out of the dorm with her suitcase. Du Hao was already waiting downstairs. When he saw Sang Ji, he walked over and took her luggage. At that moment, Li Ming also arrived. Li Ming asked whether Sang Ji remembered what he had said the night before. Sang Ji did not even remember him singing at the bar. Right in front of Du Hao, Li Ming confessed his feelings to Sang Ji. Sang Ji remembered the way Du Hao had once taught her to reject someone. She first thanked Li Ming for liking her. Then she told him that she already liked someone else. Li Ming accepted her rejection. He only hoped they could remain friends. Before leaving, he handed Sang Ji the breakfast he had prepared. After Sang Ji got into the car, Du Hao fastened her seatbelt for her. He soon noticed the breakfast Li Ming had given her. When he saw that it was a beef burger she could not eat, he immediately took it away. Sang Ji cautiously asked whether she had really thrown up on him the night before. Instead of answering directly, Du Hao handed her some fruit he had prepared in advance. On the way, Sang Ji explained that she rarely drank. She and her roommates had only agreed to relax together after their exams. Du Hao changed the subject and asked about the tall guy who had helped her out of the bar. He had also noticed that the same guy had brought her a burger that morning. When Du Hao asked whether Li Ming was the man she liked, Sang Ji denied it at once. He then pressed her to describe the kind of man she liked. She first ruled out cute guys with delicate features, saying the man she liked was very masculine. Du Hao assumed she meant someone muscular, but Sang Ji rejected that description too. The man was not muscular. He simply treated everyone around him very well. That description sounded unreliable to Du Hao, but Sang Ji immediately defended the man. Under her breath, she said that if Du Hao wanted to see him, he only had to look in a mirror. Sang Ji then turned the questions back on Du Hao. She asked why he was still single when he was already in his 20s and why he kept interfering in her life. Du Hao told her to introduce someone to him. Sang Ji pointed out that everyone around her was about the same age as she was. Du Hao replied that someone her age would be fine. When Sang Ji asked what he meant, he said he meant exactly what he had said. After Sang Ji arrived in Nanwu, Sang Yen came to pick her up at the airport. Sang Yen had waited in line to buy something she liked, so Sang Ji ended up waiting at the airport for a long time. When their mother found out, she immediately scolded Sang Yen for leaving his sister there alone. After they returned home, Sang Ji took out the gifts she had prepared. She had bought one for each of her parents. She had also bought Sang Yen a pair of asymmetrical sunglasses. Although Sang Yen complained that the sunglasses were ugly, he still accepted them. Their mother asked how Du Hao had been doing. When their mother learned that Du Hao had been hospitalized for not eating regularly, she reminded Sang Ji to eat properly too. Sang Ji said Du Hao was doing very well at work. Many of her classmates even knew the game he had designed. Her mother said that was good. She then started urging Sang Yen to go on blind dates again. After dinner, Sang Yen went to repair a light. Sang Ji followed him and suggested that Du Hao join him on his next blind date. Neither Sang Yen nor Du Hao had a girlfriend, and Du Hao was 1 year older than Sang Yen. Sang Yen immediately asked whether Du Hao had offended her recently. Sang Ji said Du Hao was not young anymore. If he did not find someone soon, he might end up lonely. Sang Yen told her not to compare Du Hao with him. He also said that a woman was currently pursuing him. Back in her room, Sang Ji opened her closet and saw the box where she kept the gifts Du Hao had given her. She took them out and remembered what he had said in the car. To find out whether Du Hao had been joking, Sang Ji sent him a message to test his reaction. She lied and said Sang Yen had gotten a girlfriend who was much younger than him. Du Hao's first question was whether the girl was an adult. Sang Ji asked whether being an adult was all that mattered. Du Hao said the girl was already in college, so she could make her own decisions. Du Hao did not object to Sang Yen dating a younger woman who was already an adult. But Seng Ji still did not know whether he would give the same answer if the woman were her. If they had first met when she was already 19, Du Hao might have treated her like an adult. But Seng Ji had only been 14 when Du Hao met her. In his eyes, she might always be his friend's younger sister. Meanwhile, Du Hao was eating with Qian Fei. Qian Fei asked what type of woman Du Hao liked. Du Hao only said that she was a little young and that Qian Fei did not know her. Qian Fei said that as long as the woman was an adult, Du Hao should pursue her. Du Hao said that even though she was already an adult, the situation still felt a little inappropriate. Qian Fei reminded him that if he never made a move, the woman might fall for someone else. Du Hao said that as long as she found someone who treated her well, he would be happy for her. Qian Fei could tell that the woman might already like someone. Du Hao repeated Seng Ji's description of the man. According to her, he knew how to charm people, treated everyone well, and was even a little shameless. After hearing that, Qian Fei said the description matched Du Hao perfectly. Du Hao denied it and said he had already met the man Seng Ji liked. But Qian Fei reminded him that people did not always reveal their true feelings in front of someone they liked. Du Hao remembered what Seng Ji had said while she was drunk and smiled. Soon, it was time for Qian Fei's wedding. When Du Hao arrived in Nanwu, he texted Seng Ji that they would see each other soon. Seng Ji saw the message, but did not understand what he meant. On the wedding day, Seng Ji prepared a cash gift for Qian Fei. Qian Fei refused to accept it. Sang Yen joked that Seng Ji could cover his share too. Seng Ji kept looking around the venue for Du Hao. He did not arrive until she was about to sit down. He had deliberately worn the tie Seng Ji had given him and kept adjusting it. Du Hao teased Sang Yen by calling him older brother. Sang Yen could not stand it and switched seats with Sang Ji, so Du Hao ended up sitting beside her. After the wedding began, Du Hao sent Sang Ji a message. He tapped the table twice to remind her to check her phone. In the message, he called her Gigi for the first time. Sang Ji asked why he had suddenly called her that. Du Hao did not answer directly. He only asked who else usually called her by that name. Sang Ji said her parents and other close family members used it. Du Hao then asked why his contact name was older brother number 2. Sang Ji casually made up an explanation. Du Hao continued asking about the man she liked. He first asked whether the man attended the same school as she did. Sang Ji denied it, then lied and said they had met at a bar. Du Hao reminded her that when she was drunk, she had clearly said they met at a karaoke lounge. Sang Ji immediately changed her answer. Her story no longer matched what she had said before. Du Hao did not point it out. He only continued asking when she had met the man and when she had started liking him. Afraid she might give herself away, Sang Ji tried to switch seats with Sang Yen again. Du Hao refused. A little later, Sang Ji decided to go home early. As soon as she left the wedding venue, Du Hao followed her outside. It was already late, so he planned to drive Sang Yan's car and take Sang Ji home. Sang Ji thought the round trip would be too much trouble and insisted that she could go home alone. Du Hao told her that driving someone else home might be a hassle, but driving her home was not. He returned the cash gift Qian Fei had refused and called her Gigi again. This time, Du Hao told her directly that only people close to her called her by that name. Although she did not understand what he meant, she still accepted the envelope. During the drive, Sang Ji told Du Hao that her flight left shortly after 8 the next morning. He offered to pick her up. On the way, he also bought Sang Ji the strawberries she liked. Sang Ji asked whether he wanted one. Du Hao took the strawberries straight from her hand, then warned her not to take advantage of him. When they arrived outside her home, Du Hao took out the New Year's gift he had prepared. It was a bracelet engraved with Sang Ji's initials. After going inside, Sang Ji told her parents that she and Du Hao would go to the airport together the next day. Her parents assumed they happened to be taking the same flight. In reality, Du Hao had canceled his original ticket to get a seat on Sang Ji's flight. Seats on that flight were already hard to get, so he asked his coworkers for help. By the time they found one, he had barely slept. He arrived outside Sang Ji's home before sunrise and waited for her. When Sang Ji came outside, Du Hao immediately handed her the breakfast he had prepared. Du Hao noticed that Sang Ji was not wearing the bracelet he had given her. He looked disappointed and asked whether she disliked it. He then hinted that he had not eaten breakfast. Sang Ji had no choice but to give him half of hers. They arrived at the airport early, where Du Hao ran into his former high school classmate Yuan Lang. Yuan Lang first asked whether Sang Ji was his girlfriend. He then mentioned hearing that Du Hao and Jin Yi were together. Du Hao immediately denied it. Yuan Lang realized he had said the wrong thing and quickly claimed he must have heard the rumor wrong. After Yuan Lang left, Sang Ji asked about Jin Yi. That was when Sang Ji learned that Jin Yi was the woman who had splashed water on Du Hao on New Year's Eve. Du Hao made it clear that he and Jin Yi were not together. He also reminded Sang Ji that he had once promised she would be the first to meet his girlfriend. Sang Ji then brought up the woman she had seen with him at Yihe Airport when she was in high school. Du Hao realized that Sang Ji had mistaken that woman for his girlfriend all these years. Sang Ji rushed to explain. Du Hao did not question her further and quietly moved a little closer. As he sat beside her, he moved his hand behind her and almost put his arm around her. After Du Hao took Sang Ji back to her dorm, Ningwei immediately asked what had happened between them. Sang Ji suspected that Du Hao might like her too, but she worried that she was reading too much into his behavior. They had known each other for years. Du Hao had always treated her as Sang Yan's younger sister, so she did not dare assume their relationship had changed. Ningwei reminded her that they were both adults and that a 6-year age difference was nothing unusual. Ningwei told Sang Ji to keep spending time with Du Hao as usual. She could wait for him to make the first move before responding. Back home, Du Hao kept thinking about what Sang Ji had said while she was drunk and the answers she had given at the wedding. He called Qian Fei and asked how to pursue someone. Qian Fei suggested that he confess directly, but Du Hao believed Sang Ji had never considered that he might like her. He wanted to pursue her properly before making his feelings clear. Du Hao had originally planned to explain who the woman at the airport had been. Instead, he decided to clear up the misunderstanding in person. He invited Sang Ji to dinner on Friday night. When her roommates learned that Du Hao had invited her out, they immediately gathered around and teased her. Sang Ji dressed carefully before running out of the dorm to meet him. When they met, Du Hao first told her that she looked good. He said they were going back to the same restaurant, where he wanted to introduce her to someone. Sang Ji had assumed it would only be the two of them. The moment Du Hao said he wanted her to meet someone, Sang Ji remembered his promise. She would be the first person to meet his girlfriend. Assuming he already had one, she walked toward the back seat. But Du Hao opened the front passenger door and told her to sit beside him. At the restaurant, Du Hao introduced Su Yun. Su Yun was a producer on Yiming Jianghu and was also Du Hao's supervisor. Sang Ji immediately recognized her as the woman who had gone with Du Hao to the airport when Sang Ji was in high school. Du Hao deliberately left the table so Su Yun could explain the old misunderstanding. Before the meeting, he had specifically asked Su Yun to help him. Su Yun explained that Du Hao had been running a fever that year. Her husband had originally planned to take Du Hao to the airport, but something had come up at the last minute, so Su Yun had gone with him instead. She also mentioned that Sang Ji had hidden in the restroom and cried. Du Hao had stayed outside and waited for her the entire time. Su Yun added that in all the years she had known Du Hao, she had never seen him date anyone. When Du Hao returned, several co-workers also arrived at the restaurant. One co-worker deliberately asked him to introduce Sang Ji. Du Hao introduced Sang Ji as his own friend, not simply as his friend's younger sister. It was the first time he had done that in front of his co-workers. Once the misunderstanding was cleared up, Du Hao quickly left with Sang Ji so they could be alone. Sang Ji asked whether he had invited Su Yun specifically to explain everything. Du Hao did not admit it directly. He only said he did not want her to keep getting the wrong idea. Sang Ji did not feel like eating yet, so they decided to watch a movie. At the mall, she ordered a drink. After 2 sips, she realized the drink had been made with milk. When Du Hao learned about her milk allergy, he immediately got her plain tea instead. Red bumps had already appeared on Sang Ji's face. Du Hao insisted they skip the movie and go to the hospital first. As soon as Sang Ji took the medicine, Du Hao asked whether she felt better. Sang Ji reminded him that the medicine could not work that quickly. She also said she had once spent an entire night throwing up after drinking milk. That reminded Du Hao of the bottle of milk he had once given her. Sang Ji hurriedly explained that a classmate had drunk the milk and that she had thrown away the bottle, but she was clearly flustered as she spoke. Since the movie was no longer an option, Du Hao took Sang-ji back to the dorm. On the way, Sang-ji again asked why he had introduced her as a friend rather than as his friend's younger sister. Du Hao did not answer immediately. He changed the subject and asked about her upcoming birthday. He also mentioned that Sang-ji's birthday cake would have to be milk-free. Back in the dorm, her roommates assumed Sang-ji would be disappointed. Her allergic reaction had ended the date early. Instead, Sang-ji told them that she thought Du Hao might like her too. Ningwei told her not to make her feelings too obvious yet, and to wait for Du Hao to pursue her. Sang-ji agreed, but she then said that if Du Hao did not pursue her, she would pursue him herself. On Sang-ji's birthday, Du Hao arrived early and waited downstairs. Then he saw Li Ming approaching her with a gift. Sang-ji wanted to refuse it, but to avoid embarrassing Li Ming, she accepted the gift. Li Ming also offered to celebrate her birthday with her, but Sang-ji kept looking at Du Hao in the distance and barely paid attention to him. After Li Ming left, Du Hao took the gift from Sang-ji. He again asked whether Li Ming was the man Sang-ji secretly liked. Sang-ji immediately denied it. Du Hao then asked her to look at him and decide whether he resembled the man she had described. Sang-ji worried that admitting it would reveal the feelings she had hidden for years, so she kept denying that Du Hao resembled the man. Du Hao brought up what Sang-ji had said while she was drunk. The man had many female friends. He treated every woman well, and he had never had a girlfriend. All three descriptions matched Du Hao. The movie Sang-ji wanted to see was no longer playing at nearby theaters, so they took a bus into the city. The bus was crowded, and Du Hao told Sang-ji to hold on to him. Sang-ji held on loosely to his clothes. Du Hao placed her hand on his arm. He then put his hand on her shoulder. At the mall, Sang-ji ordered an iced lemon tea. Because Sang-ji had just had an allergic reaction, Du Hao wanted her to order something hot. Still, he respected her choice and only reminded her not to drink too much. Sang-ji asked whether he planned to keep telling her what to do in the future. Du Hao told her to get used to it. Before the movie started, Du Hao held Sang-ji's iced drink for her. When Sang-ji tried to take the drink, Du Hao teased her for touching his hand. Sang-ji reminded him that holding the drink would also make his hand cold. Du Hao told her to warm his hand for him. He then said they were not together yet, so warming his hand would be inappropriate. Later, Du Hao invited Sang-ji home for her birthday gift and cake. Sang-ji reminded him that he had once told her not to visit his company or home again. That was when Du Hao understood why Sang-ji had been upset. He had never explained what happened with Jin Yi at the company. He apologized to Sang-ji. Sang-ji also admitted that she had acted that way because she was upset. After clearing up the misunderstanding, Du Hao took Sang-ji back to his place. He had prepared a birthday surprise for her on the rooftop. He had made a milk-free cake himself. Du Hao was worried that the cake he had made did not look good, so he had also bought a second cake, just for the candles. Sang-ji still chose the cake he had made. They placed all 19 candles on the cake. Du Hao reminded Sang-ji that she was 19 now. Sang-ji joked that by the time his birthday came, the store might not have enough candles. They sang the birthday song together and blew out the candles. Sang-ji wished that she could celebrate many more birthdays with Du Hao. Du Hao had another gift waiting for her, besides the cake. After seeing Li Ming's gift, Du Hao again asked what kind of man she would let pursue her. Sang-ji said the man had to be handsome, easygoing, and have good values. He also had to be a full head taller than she was. Du Hao believed he met every condition. Then he seriously asked whether he could pursue her. Sang-ji still insisted that she had always seen him as an older brother. Du Hao told her he did not want to be just an older brother to her. He wanted to be her boyfriend. Sang-ji did not answer immediately. Du Hao said he had to make his feelings clear. Otherwise, Sang-ji might keep mistaking his feelings for the concern of an older brother. At first, Sang-ji denied having feelings for him. She said she could not decide whether to accept him until he actually started pursuing her. Du Hao asked how long he would have to pursue her. Sang-ji said she was hard to win over. Du Hao replied that he would not mind even if it took 8 or 10 years. After returning to her dorm, Sang-ji opened the birthday gift Du Hao had given her. It was a camera, but inside, she found a selfie of Du Hao with his clothes rumpled. She sent the photo to him. Du Hao realized he had forgotten to delete the photo he had taken while testing the camera. The two teased each other about the photo. Du Hao offered to send her a clearer photo if she agreed to let him keep pursuing her. Sang-ji did not agree. She called him calculating and made fun of his age. After the conversation ended, she changed his contact name from older brother number 2 to suitor. Sang Yen also sent Sang Ji some birthday money. Sang Ji happily told her brother that she might start dating someone. Sang Yen warned her not to get fooled. When he heard the man was older, he called her right away and started questioning her. Sang Ji had no choice but to lie and say the man was a graduate student at her school. After hanging up, Sang Yen contacted Du Hao. He asked Du Hao to keep an eye on Sang Ji and make sure no one tricked her. He had no idea that Du Hao was the older suitor she had mentioned. Sang Ji put on the bracelet Du Hao had given her and sent a photo to her roommates. Ning Wei asked how long she planned to let Du Hao keep pursuing her. Sang Ji told Ning Wei she already wanted to say yes, but she worried his interest might only be temporary and that he might give up after pursuing her for a while. Ning Wei suggested testing him first. The next day, Du Hao sent Sang Ji a message asking her out to see whether he would give up easily. Ning Wei replied on Sang Ji's behalf and said she was busy. Du Hao continued asking whether she was available at another time. He even asked a co-worker what Sang Ji meant by "I might be busy." With advice from their friends, the two eventually agreed to meet on Thursday night. Du Hao had to cancel their next several dates because unexpected problems kept coming up at work. One time, a project at work suddenly ran into trouble, so he had to stay late. Another time, he was still stuck at work and had to apologize to Sang Ji again. Each time, Sang Ji said she understood. Her roommates, however, began to question whether he was seriously pursuing her. Just as Du Hao wrapped up work, the care facility called to say his father's condition had worsened. His father had been unconscious for 9 years. For years, Du Hao had shouldered the debt and responsibility left by the accident on his own. His mother had died, and his father had never woken up. Even so, Du Hao had never stopped trying to get him treatment. After leaving the facility, Du Hao returned home exhausted. When he saw Sang Ji's message, he remembered that he had canceled several dates in a row. He immediately called and asked her to meet him. When her roommates heard the news, they straightened Sang Ji's clothes, handed her bag to her, and sprayed her with perfume. Then they pushed her out of the dorm. When she met Du Hao, Sang Ji reminded him that she already had classes, homework, and activities. Now she also had to wait around for him to ask her out. Du Hao apologized. He explained that too much had been happening lately and that he had not stood her up on purpose. Sang Ji heard that something was off in his voice and asked whether he was unhappy. Du Hao said nothing about his family. He only said that just seeing her made him happy. To cheer him up, Sang Ji went to a nearby stand and learned how to make cotton candy. She told Du Hao that eating something sweet always helped when she was unhappy. Du Hao took a bite and then shared the cotton candy with Sang Ji. Du Hao found out that he was the first person to taste cotton candy she had made herself. He teased that this meant Sang Ji had agreed to be his girlfriend. Sang Ji immediately denied it. She also complained about the way he was pursuing her. A few messages and an occasional phone call were not enough. Seeing her only once in a while did not count as pursuing her seriously. Du Hao said he understood and promised to do it properly. Sang Ji said she had to attend a presentation given by graduating seniors the next morning. She would be free that afternoon. Du Hao deliberately said he would have to keep working overtime. But the next day, she saw him in the classroom. Du Hao had asked around and found the time and location of the presentation. He had come to her school to see her, though he insisted they had only run into each other by chance. He had also changed into clothes that made him look younger. He sat beside Sang Ji and kept looking at her. Sang Ji did not know how to respond, so she pretended to be sleepy. After Sang Ji closed her eyes, Du Hao deliberately leaned closer. Sang Ji suddenly called him by his full name. Du Hao immediately asked whether she should still be calling him that. They kept testing each other. Sang Ji warned him that she would tell Sang Yen if he kept acting like that. Du Hao said they would have to go public with their relationship sooner or later. They might as well tell Sang Yen early. Sang Ji nodded without thinking. Du Hao took her nod to mean that she had agreed to go public later. After class, they came across a basketball game between students from the physical education department. Li Ming suddenly twisted his ankle, leaving one team a player short. When Qin Chi saw that Du Hao was 6'1", he immediately asked him to fill in. Sang Ji casually asked whether he could handle it. Du Hao immediately agreed to play. Once Du Hao entered the game, He quickly attracted the attention of the girls nearby. Sang Ji put on her glasses and watched the game closely. Du Hao also kept looking over at her. Li Ming heard someone say that Sang Ji and Du Hao were not siblings. Li Ming had always treated Du Hao like an older friend. Now, he realized Du Hao was actually his rival for Sang Ji. With summer vacation approaching, Sang Ji's roommates began discussing their plans. Ningwei planned to travel with her boyfriend. The others also planned to look for internships. Sang Ji wanted to stay in Yihe with Du Hao. She messaged Sang Yan and asked him to help persuade their parents. She claimed an internship would help her make better use of her time in college. She also promised to take Sang Yan's side if their mother brought up marriage again over New Year's. Sang Yan quickly guessed that she wanted to stay in Yihe because of her relationship. He directly asked whether her graduate student boyfriend would be going home for summer vacation. He also demanded that Sang Ji return to Nanwu. Sang Ji tried to explain that she really did want to stay in Yihe for an internship. She also teased Sang Yan for never dating in college and still being unable to find a girlfriend. She claimed he was only jealous of her. Sang Yan immediately said he already had a girlfriend, but he still warned Sang Ji not to lose her head over a relationship. Meanwhile, Hu Li bought medicine for the injured Li Ming. She asked what had happened at the basketball court. Li Ming said Sang Ji already had someone she liked and that he should be happy for her. The roommates also noticed that Hu Li had liked Li Ming all along. After work, Du Hao asked Sang Ji out. She told him she had plans that evening. As soon as the call ended, he saw Sang Ji downstairs carrying a cake. Sang Ji said she really did have something to do. She was there to celebrate his birthday. Du Hao joked that he wanted to get married before he turned 27. Sang Ji made fun of him for being old. Du Hao replied that since she would not give him a clear answer, he had to step things up. After getting into the car, Sang Ji noticed that Sang Yan had not sent Du Hao a birthday message. She contacted her brother herself. At that moment, an older student also sent her a message. Du Hao immediately became jealous. He asked whether the student was handsome, had good values, and was a head taller than she was. He relaxed a little after learning that the student already had a girlfriend. Sang Yan soon called. He first teased Du Hao for being that old and still single. Then he claimed that Sang Ji had used his money to buy Du Hao's birthday gift. After that, he brought up Sang Ji's graduate student boyfriend. Du Hao played along and said he thought he had seen the man before. Sang Yan heard Sang Ji's voice over the phone and immediately suspected that the two were together. Sang Ji quickly denied it. Sang Ji quickly ended the call before Sang Yan could finish. He was suspicious, but he still had not confirmed the relationship. After the call, Du Hao asked whether it was too late for him to take the graduate school entrance exam. He suggested that Sang Ji first tell Sang Yan she had broken up with her graduate student boyfriend. Then the two of them could get together. Sang Ji reminded him that they were not officially dating yet. Du Hao asked whether she truly felt nothing for him. Sang Ji admitted that she did have feelings for him. Du Hao did not press her. He said he would keep pursuing her until she was ready. He wanted to pursue her seriously. He did not want to skip that process just because he knew she liked him. Sang Ji took Du Hao to a restaurant she had reserved in advance. A server suddenly started singing "Happy Birthday," and Du Hao backed away in embarrassment. Inside the private room, he saw that Sang Ji had decorated it herself. She had also planned to make him longevity noodles. She had asked her mother for instructions beforehand, but since it was her first time cooking, she struggled in the kitchen. Du Hao tried to go inside and help, but she sent him back out. In the end, Sang Ji managed to bring out a bowl of longevity noodles. Sang Ji worried the noodles did not taste good, so she only wanted Du Hao to take a picture to remember them by. He took a bite, anyway, and refused to let her taste them. He said it was the first time she had made longevity noodles for him. He wanted to finish the entire bowl himself. The more he said, the more Sang Ji suspected something was wrong with the taste. Du Hao made a birthday wish and blew out the candles. Sang Ji asked what he had wished for. Du Hao only said that she already knew. Sang Ji understood what he meant. She told him that his wish would be easy to fulfill. Then she agreed to become his girlfriend. She said she wanted to spend every birthday from then on by his side. Du Hao pulled Sang Ji into his arms and kissed her gently. Afterward, he told her about his family. He worried that she might mind. Sang Ji said she was only afraid that talking about it would make him sad. The next day, the dorm lost power. Sang Ji got ready to study at the library. Du Hao called and asked whether his girlfriend had time to eat with him. Sang Ji said she needed to study and wanted to meet another day. Du Hao agreed, but he was already waiting downstairs. After learning that the dorm had lost power, Du Hao invited Sang Ji to study at his home. She thought the library might be full, so she went to his place with him. Du Hao took her into the bedroom. He sat by the bed and kept looking at her. Sang Ji deliberately leaned her face close to his. Du Hao immediately stood and pulled her into his arms. Sang Ji worried she would not be able to study with him in the room. Du Hao had no choice but to leave. He had also prepared some of Sang Ji's favorite dishes. Sang Ji was delighted to learn that she was the first person to eat a meal Du Hao had cooked himself. After the meal, Sang Ji volunteered to wash the dishes. Du Hao asked why she was so eager to learn household chores. He had never said she would have to do all of that in the future. Sang Ji said she could not let him do everything alone. Then she quickly added that she might be thinking too far ahead. Sang Ji returned to the bedroom and continued studying. But she soon became too sleepy to keep her eyes open. She only planned to lie down for 5 minutes. As soon as she closed her eyes, she heard Du Hao walking toward the bedroom. To hide the fact that she had fallen asleep, Sang Ji quickly rolled onto the floor. She lied that studying vocabulary on the floor was more stimulating and would keep her awake. Du Hao latched onto the word stimulating. He pulled her back onto the bed and teased her. Sang Ji explained that she did not mind him getting close. She was only nervous. Du Hao did not pressure her any further. During their walk that evening, Sang Ji handed Du Hao a piece of candy. He gently caught her fingertips instead, then asked for permission to hold her hand. Sang Ji thought holding hands should happen naturally between a couple. She did not understand why he needed to ask. Du Hao explained that he had kissed her without warning before. He worried it might have upset her. Sang Ji told him that she had not been upset. She had only been nervous. For the first time, she clearly told him that she really liked him. Du Hao was thrilled to hear it, but he did not move closer again. He only kissed her gently on the forehead and said he liked her too. Qian Fei called to say he would be in Yi soon for work. To thank him, Du Hao offered to treat him to seafood. Qian Fei immediately guessed that Du Hao had started dating the person he liked. He also shared the news in their group chat. Du Hao had no choice but to admit that the person was someone Qian Fei knew. Qian Fei quickly guessed that it was Sang Ji. He was shocked because Sang Ji had been only 14 when Du Hao met her. When Qian Fei learned that Sang Yan still did not know, he immediately tried to delete his message from the group chat, but Sang Yan had already called. Du Hao could only add Qian Fei to the call. Sang Yan assumed Du Hao had asked Qian Fei to help him pursue another woman. He had no idea that the woman was Sang Ji. Du Hao only said he would return to Nan Wu soon and tell Sang Yan in person. Sang Yan even reminded them to bring Sang Ji home for summer vacation. Back at the dorm, Sang Ji worried that her nervousness whenever they got close might give Du Hao the wrong idea. Ning Wei reminded her that they were already dating, so she did not need to be afraid of normal affection between them. Sang Ji decided to make the first move. She asked Du Hao to meet and told him she planned to kiss him. They agreed that she would initiate it, but when the countdown ended, Du Hao turned around and went back to his game. Sang Ji tried several times to move closer, but he avoided her each time. Later, he slowly pulled her closer. Sang Ji fell into his arms and gave him a light kiss. Du Hao deliberately said he had not been prepared, so the kiss did not count. Sang Ji kissed him again. With her exams over, summer vacation was just around the corner. Sang Ji's parents did not want her to stay in Yihe for an internship. They had already found her a job in Nanwu. But Sang Ji wanted to remain in Yihe with Du Hao. At that moment, she received a call telling her that she had passed an interview. She had secured an internship in Yihe. Sang Yan offered to pick her up at the airport, but he learned that she planned to stay in Yihe and that their parents had already agreed. Worried that Sang Ji might be fooled, he again warned her not to lose her head over the relationship. The two soon argued over the phone. Sang Yan angrily hung up. Sang Ji worried that Sang Yan would be even angrier when he learned the truth about Du Hao. She decided to tell him by text first. Then she discovered that her brother had blocked her. The internship Sang Ji had been looking forward to did not go well. On her first day, Han Bing, the head of the planning team, recognized her. But Han Bing deliberately ignored her greeting. After that, Sang Ji was given all the printing, binding, and tea-making tasks. Because Sang Ji was unfamiliar with the machine, she worked a little slowly. Han Bing immediately scolded her. Sang Ji did not know that Han Bing was Jin Yi's friend. Her parents sent digital cash gifts in the family group chat to celebrate her first day. Sang Yan grabbed all of them before she could. When their mother asked about work, Sang Ji did not tell her the truth. She only said that her co-workers were taking good care of her. After work, Du Hao arrived to pick her up with a bouquet of sunflowers. He said he chose the sunflowers because he hoped her new job would go smoothly and that she would keep making progress. He kept asking whether Sang Ji was tired. He also wanted to know whether her co-workers were easy to get along with. Sang Ji laughed and said he asked too many questions. She said he acted like an overly worried parent. Du Hao also gave Sang Ji a small rabbit plush. Sang Ji complained that its ears were too large. She said it looked like a pig and also like Sang Yan. Du Hao said he had worked part-time since high school, so he knew how hard it was to start working. He told Sang Ji to talk to the plush whenever something upset her. She immediately vented to it and started cursing Sang Yan. That was when Du Hao learned that the siblings had argued. As the internship continued, Han Bing kept giving Sang Ji all kinds of menial tasks. She also treated Sang Ji very differently from the other intern. Du Hao called during a break at work. Before they could talk for long, he heard Han Bing telling Sang Ji to hurry. Sang Ji had to end the call quickly. Sang Ji ordered food delivery for Du Hao, drawing the attention of her co-workers. When Du Hao called, she learned that he had planned to pick her up after finishing work. Near the end of the day, Han Bing handed Sang Ji another box of unfinished work. She ordered her to finish everything before leaving. When Du Hao learned that Sang Ji was still working overtime, he ate a few quick bites and went to find her. After finishing her work, Sang Ji stood alone by the river. She smiled when she saw Du Hao. Du Hao let her lean on his shoulder and asked whether she was tired after working all day. Sang Ji did not mention what had happened at the company. Du Hao did not press her. She only said she had been exhausted after work. But seeing him made her feel much better. At that moment, Han Bing called again and ordered her back to the office to keep working. Sang Ji had to hurry back. Meanwhile, Su Yun was in the hospital, leaving Du Hao with even more work. After dropping Sang Ji off, he went back to the office and kept working. That night, they wished each other good night over the phone. Du Hao said he still had some unfinished work and told Sang Ji to sleep first. After the call, he worked through the night. The next morning, he still drove over to take Sang Ji to work. When Sang Ji reached his car, Du Hao had fallen asleep from exhaustion. He did not even notice her standing outside the window. Sang Ji noticed that he had not changed clothes and looked exhausted. She deliberately asked whether he had another girlfriend. She asked whether he spent his days with her and his nights with someone else. Du Hao first claimed that he owned several identical outfits. Then he joked that one girlfriend was already more than enough. He had no energy for anyone else. Eventually, he admitted he had worked through the night. Sang Ji told him he did not have to force himself to pick her up. He could use the time to rest. Du Hao insisted that no matter how busy he was, he still wanted to pick her up. When they arrived outside her company, Sang Ji again reminded him to sleep before going to work. Han Bing happened to see them being affectionate in the car. She immediately called Jin E. Han Bing told Jin E that the girl who had thrown water on Jin E was now interning at Han Bing's company. She also said that Sang Ji and Du Hao appeared close. Jin E lost her composure when she heard the news. After the call, Han Bing summoned Sang Ji to her office. She picked apart Sang Ji's proposal and accused her of making decisions on her own. Then she criticized her for being inflexible. When Sang Ji returned to her desk, all she could do was clutch the rabbit plush Du Hao had given her. One co-worker could not watch any longer and warned Han Bing not to drive away a new intern. Han Bing said the others had no idea what Sang Ji was really like in private. Sang Ji heard her and became even more confused about why Han Bing disliked her. Later, Jin E called Han Bing again. When Han Bing mentioned a company gathering at a karaoke lounge that evening, Jin E went there immediately. Sang Ji found the company gathering boring and made an excuse to leave early. As soon as she opened the door, she ran into Jin E. Jin E stopped Sang Ji. She told Sang Ji that Du Hao's father had been unconscious for years and needed expensive treatment every year. She also said that Du Hao's father had killed someone in a car accident. Sang Ji replied that Du Hao had not done any of those things. She was also willing to face those problems with him. Jin E said Du Hao had grown up with very little affection. She claimed that anyone who treated him well could make him mistake kindness for love. She also insisted that if Sang Ji broke up with him, Du Hao would accept it right away. He would still meet many other women in the future. Sang Ji did not back down. She only asked why Jin Yi kept targeting Du Hao. Jin Yi then revealed that Du Hao's father had killed her father. She said Du Hao's father had refused to take responsibility after the accident. Instead, he had jumped from a building to avoid taking responsibility. Sang Ji admitted that Jin Yi was innocent too, but she reminded Jin Yi that those were Du Hao's father's mistakes. Du Hao had already spent years suffering the consequences of his father's actions. That did not give Jin Yi the right to keep hurting him. When Sang Ji found Du Hao, he was sitting alone by the river drinking beer. She did not mention Jin. She took away his beer and handed him her bank card. There was 5,000 yuan on the card. She planned to add another 3,000 after her internship ended. Du Hao asked why she had suddenly given him money. Sang Ji said she could treat him well too and would keep doing so. Du Hao refused to take the card. He told her to use the money to buy dresses she liked. Sang Ji told him to save it for a home instead. She had already checked housing prices in Yihe. A downtown home larger than 100 square meters would require a down payment of more than 500,000 yuan. She told Du Hao not to worry. She could save enough in 50 years. Du Hao played along. He said that once Sang Ji bought the place, he would move in with her. Sang Ji complained that his words sounded corny. Du Hao still returned the bank card. Sang Ji agreed to continue saving the money for him. Du Hao asked whether something had been bothering Sang Ji lately. Sang Ji did not mention her internship or Jin Yi. She quietly leaned against him. At work the next day, Sang Ji received a food delivery and candy from Du Hao. Seeing them helped her feel a little better. After work, Du Hao picked Sang Ji up and took her back to the dorm. Her mother had just finished calling to check on her when Sang Yan called. He first made sure Sang Ji was back at the dorm. Then he asked whether she was the girl he had seen holding hands with a man on campus. Sang Ji looked around. She quickly spotted her brother standing nearby. Sang Yan stared at the two of them. He asked why her graduate student boyfriend looked exactly like Du Hao. Sang Ji still tried to deny it. Sang Yan told her to choose one of three explanations. Du Hao was either limping, blind, or drunk. She had to explain why she was holding his hand. Sang Ji could only claim that Du Hao was drunk. Sang Yan reached out to pull his sister back. Sang Ji hid behind Du Hao. Du Hao stopped her from lying and admitted that he was the one pursuing Sang Ji. Sang Yan was so angry he nearly cried. Even so, he walked Sang Ji back to the dorm with Du Hao. On the way, Sang Ji explained that she had wanted to tell him before, but she had never gotten a chance to explain clearly because he had blocked her. She admitted that she had lied to him and apologized repeatedly. She had only wanted to give Sang Yan time to get used to the age gap. Sang Yan did not accept the explanation. Du Hao told Sang Ji not to worry. He said he would explain everything to Sang Yan himself. When they reached the dorm building, Sang Yan firmly told Sang Ji to go inside. Sang Ji still wanted to stay. She even asked whether the two men were hungry. Sang Yan refused to let her stall any longer and sent her back into the dorm. Sang Ji could only wish them good night. As soon as Sang Ji returned to the dorm, Sang Yan hit Du Hao. He demanded to know why Du Hao had chosen to pursue his sister. Du Hao said he was serious about Sang Ji. Sang Yan hit him hard, ignoring the fact that Du Hao had recently had his appendix removed. Du Hao did not dodge or fight back. He let Sang Yan keep hitting him. Sang Yan said he would never interfere with anyone else Du Hao chose to date, but that person could not be Sang Ji. Sang Ji had known Du Hao since middle school. She had always treated him like an older brother. Sang Yan could not accept that Du Hao had later started pursuing his sister. Sang Yan also said he had come to Yihe specifically to confront Du Hao. Du Hao admitted that he had handled it badly. He apologized to Sang Yan. Sang Yan said they were no longer friends. Du Hao knew Sang Yan could not accept the relationship. He told him he could hit him as many times as he wanted. Still angry, Sang Yan noticed that Du Hao's face was covered in injuries. He told Du Hao to wipe away the blood. Sang Ji called Sang Yan, but he immediately rejected the call. She sent Du Hao a message asking whether the two of them were all right. Du Hao told her not to worry. Du Hao promised Sang Yan that he would treat Sang Ji well for the rest of his life. When Du Hao called her Mai Jiji, Sang Yen again demanded to know whether he was serious. He also asked how far things had gone between them. Du Hao asked whether Sang Yen really thought he would cross a line with Sang Ji. Sang Yen bluntly said yes. Sang Yen pointed out that Du Hao was already 25 or 26. Pursuing a girl who had only recently started college crossed a serious line. Du Hao again insisted that he was serious. He also pointed out that they were only 6 years apart. If Sang Yen was still angry, he could keep hitting him. Sang Yen was too furious to respond. Early the next morning, Du Hao went to see Sang Ji while wearing a mask. He lied that he had caught a cold. Sang Ji immediately noticed the injury near his eye. Du Hao casually said he had accidentally bumped into the nightstand. Sang Ji knew her brother had hit him. She immediately went to confront Sang Yen. When she arrived at the restaurant, she pulled her brother to his feet. She demanded to know why he had hit Du Hao. Sang Yen asked why he was not allowed to hit him. Sang Ji said that if she had been there the night before, she would have called the police. Sang Yen told her to call them now. Furious, Sang Ji declared that he was no longer her brother and ran to the restroom in tears. Sang Yen still threatened to lecture her when she returned. Du Hao reminded him that Sang Ji had only gone to the restroom. He also made it clear that he would stop Sang Yen if he tried to argue with her again. If Sang Yen still wanted to hit him, Du Hao suggested doing it another day. Seeing how strongly Sang Ji defended Du Hao, Sang Yen had nothing more to say. After calming herself down, Sang Ji returned to the table, but kept her back turned toward her brother. Sang Yen asked why someone her age was still saying that he was no longer her brother. Sang Ji immediately changed her wording and said they could permanently cut ties instead. The siblings quickly began arguing again. Sang Yen complained that Sang Ji had only been dating Du Hao for a short time, but was already completely taking his side. She demanded to know why her brother could not communicate properly instead of using violence. Sang Yen insisted that there was nothing wrong with hitting a friend. His refusal to admit that he was wrong only made Sang Ji angrier. Du Hao quickly stepped in. Pointing to the injury on Sang Yen's lip, he admitted that he had hit Sang Yen too. Sang Ji assumed he had acted in self-defense. Du Hao explained that Sang Yen had stood still and asked to be hit. Sang Ji immediately began scolding both men for not simply talking things through. Du Hao then explained what had happened the night before. After hitting Du Hao, Sang Yen had decided that Du Hao should not be the only one left injured. He had stood still and let Du Hao hit him once in return. Du Hao had said that he did not know how to fight, but Sang Yen had urged him to hurry up. The punch had injured Sang Yen's lip. After hearing the full story, Sang Ji called both of them childish and asked whether they had applied medicine. Du Hao said they had, and that only some bruising remained. Sang Ji continued, asking Du Hao whether he was in pain. Seeing his sister focus only on Du Hao, Sang Yen complained that having a sister was worse than having a girlfriend. At least a girlfriend would care when he was hurt. After the three of them ate, Du Hao and Sang Yen took Sang Ji back to the dorm. Sang Yen then went with Du Hao to his company. There, Sang Yen learned that Du Hao had picked Sang Ji up from work, gone shopping with her, watched a movie, and eaten dinner with her. Only after all of that had Du Hao returned to the company to work overtime. Sang Yen said Du Hao was giving up all his rest just to make time for dates. He thought Du Hao could have simply told Sang Ji that he needed to work overtime. Sang Yen admitted that Sang Ji could be stubborn at times, but she would understand that Du Hao needed to work. Du Hao worried that Sang Ji was too understanding. He was afraid he might start expecting her to always work around his schedule. He said things would get easier once he moved. Sang Yen immediately asked why. Du Hao said he had found a 2-bedroom apartment near the school. The new place would also make Sang Yen feel more at ease. Sang Yen admitted that, as her brother, he naturally worried about anyone Sang Ji dated. Sang Ji had caused plenty of trouble before because of a supposed online boyfriend. But after watching them together for several days, he felt somewhat relieved that Du Hao was the boyfriend. At least Du Hao was far more reliable than the supposed online boyfriend or graduate student boyfriend. Even so, Sang Yen warned Du Hao that he would never forgive him if he hurt Sang Ji. Du Hao promised that Sang Yen would never have that opportunity. Early the next morning, Du Hao woke up at the company and saw the note Sang Yen had left. He then went to the break room. There, a coworker told Du Hao that he had seen Sang Ji a few days earlier. She had been talking to the woman who had caused trouble outside the karaoke lounge. Du Hao realized that Sang Ji's recent behavior had something to do with Jin Yi. He immediately went to Jin Yi's workplace. Jin Yi offered him some water, but he went straight to the reason for his visit. He warned her that her behavior had become harassment. If she approached Sang Ji again, he would consider calling the police. Jin Yi responded by asking what he would call the years she had spent pursuing him. Du Hao said he could tolerate her bothering him. What he would never tolerate was Jin Yi hurting Sang Ji. Sang Ji was the person he loved most, and he would do anything to protect her. Meanwhile, Han Bing was presenting her proposal during a meeting. The manager found the idea unoriginal and was not satisfied with it. The manager stood by his assessment and invited the rest of the team to share their opinions. Sang Ji then proposed presenting the product through animation. The idea immediately caught the manager's attention. He asked Han Bing and Sang Ji to prepare separate proposals so the client could decide which one to use. Han Bing believed Sang Ji had upstaged her in front of everyone. She confronted Sang Ji as soon as the meeting ended. She asked why Sang Ji had waited until the meeting to bring up the idea instead of telling her earlier. She also mocked Sang Ji, saying that someone who stole another woman's boyfriend clearly had no respect for boundaries. At that point, Sang Ji could only apologize. The accusation left her deeply upset. Just then, Sang Yen arrived to pick her up from work. When Sang Yen learned that his sister had been working overtime, he reminded her to get enough rest. He then told her that he had an early flight the next morning. When Sang Ji heard that her brother was about to leave, she started crying. Sang Yen quickly explained that he still had many things to handle after he returned. He could tell that something was wrong with Sang Ji. He asked whether she had been unhappy during her internship. He told Sang Ji that she could quit if the job made her unhappy. Their family did not need the money, and her internship salary was less than what Sang Yen gave her in red envelopes. Sang Yen was not sure how to comfort his sister. When he saw Du Hao return, he called him over and asked him to comfort Sang Ji. He also told Du Hao that she had not been enjoying her internship. Sang Ji did not want Du Hao to worry. She quickly changed the subject and motioned for her brother to stop talking. Sang Yen told them to spend some time together and left. Before leaving, Sang Yen said Sang Ji always cheered up when she saw Du Hao. Du Hao quickly noticed that something was wrong with Sang Ji and headed upstairs to find her boss. Sang Ji hurriedly stopped him. Du Hao asked whether she had been feeling unhappy lately. He had assumed that Sang Ji had stopped complaining because things were getting better at work. Sang Ji said things at the company were mostly fine. Du Hao was already busy with work, and she did not want to put more pressure on him. Du Hao reminded Sang Ji that she had often cried in front of him when she was younger. He asked whether she was embarrassed to cry in front of him now. Sang Ji insisted that she had been a child back then. She was grown up now and would not cry like a little kid anymore. Du Hao told her that if crying was only for children, she could always be a child around him. He would take care of her. Du Hao could tell that Sang Ji missed home and offered to take time off to go back with her. If Sang Ji did not want to continue the internship, she could quit. If the company kept mistreating her, Du Hao would speak to her boss himself. Sang Ji said Du Hao was sounding more and more like a parent. Du Hao admitted that he did not want to be just her boyfriend. He also wanted to be someone she could depend on. But when Du Hao asked again what had happened at the company, Sang Ji still did not tell him. Du Hao told Sang Ji that he had gone to see Jin Yi. He also asked her to promise that she would tell him whenever something happened. Before leaving Yi, Sang Yen left Sang Ji some spending money. He also reminded her not to keep getting angry with Du Hao. Before Sang Ji could argue, Sang Yen hung up. Back at the company, Sang Ji proposed a concept centered on a girl with allergies. The idea caught the client's attention. Although the production costs were over budget, the manager persuaded the client to approve Sang Ji's proposal. He praised her quick thinking and said she had made a major contribution to the project. He promised the entire team a bonus if everyone worked hard on the campaign. The employees became excited when they heard about the bonus. The manager joked that this was the happiest he had ever seen them. He then urged everyone to get back to work. Sang Ji's coworkers invited her to dinner on Sunday, but she wanted to go on a date with Du Hao, so she politely declined. Using the address Du Hao had sent her, Sang Ji arrived at an apartment complex near her school. She looked up and saw Du Hao standing on the second floor. Du Hao asked her to wait, and then came downstairs to meet her. The apartment felt warm and inviting the moment Sang Ji stepped inside. Du Hao had even prepared a room just for her. Sang Ji mistakenly thought they were going to live together. Du Hao explained that he only wanted her to have a place to rest whenever she was tired from studying. She worried that the rent was too expensive, but Du Hao said he could afford it. He had chosen the apartment because it was close to her school and would give her more time to rest. Du Hao then asked Sang Ji to hold out her hand. He took her hand and told her that this would be their home from now on. That evening, the air conditioner suddenly stopped working while Sang Ji was studying in her dorm. She called the dorm supervisor, but no repair worker was available. With no idea how to fix it herself, Sang Ji ended the call. Du Hao called her not long afterward. Sang Ji told him that she had already eaten, then mentioned that the air conditioner in her dorm was broken and the room was extremely hot. Du Hao immediately offered to pick her up. Sang Ji asked where he planned to take her. Du Hao took her to the new apartment, where he had already prepared plenty of snacks. Sang Ji sat on the couch and tried to decide which snack to eat first. Du Hao told her that if she lived there, she could eat snacks every day. He then told Sang Ji to go wash up. Feeling a little shy, Sang Ji grabbed her bag and ran into the room. When she came out after washing up, she saw Du Hao sitting there in his pajamas, playing a game. She felt too embarrassed to approach him. Du Hao called her over and offered to teach her the game. He asked whether she had played before, then began explaining the different abilities. With Du Hao sitting right beside her, Sang Ji kept looking at him and barely listened to his explanation. Du Hao handed her the phone and told her to try it herself. Sang Ji followed his instructions step by step. As they sat close together, the atmosphere between them gradually became more intimate. Sang Ji then stood up to get some snacks. As she turned around, her clothes caught on one of Du Hao's buttons. Du Hao told her to slow down and asked whether he could unfasten the button. Sang Ji fumbled with the button. Du Hao looked at her, leaned down, and kissed her. They kissed for a long time before Du Hao pulled away. He asked whether Sang Ji still had work the next day and told her to get some rest. Sang Ji said she was sleepy too. Du Hao still had work to finish, so he reminded her to lock the door before going to sleep. As Sang Ji's internship neared its end, she prepared small gifts for her coworkers. Although Han Bing had constantly made things difficult for Sang Ji still prepared a gift for Han Bing. Sang Ji admitted that she had not done very well when she first joined the company, but she told Han Bing directly that she had never stolen anyone's boyfriend. Sang Ji said that if Han Bing truly considered Jin Yi a friend, Han Bing should stay by Jin Yi's side while Jin Yi received professional help. Han Bing should also learn the full truth about the situation. Han Bing did not argue again, and her attitude softened. Meanwhile, the new game Du Hao had been working on launched successfully. Every performance metric exceeded expectations by a wide margin. It was the team's best performing release in more than 2 years. The employees applauded and celebrated. Suyin planned to recommend Du Hao for the lead programmer position. Du Hao was surprised by the recommendation. Suyin then asked what he planned to do after working so hard for so long. Du Hao said he planned to take Sang Ji on a trip and spend some quality time with her. Du Hao researched many options for the trip, but when he showed Sang Ji different hotels and attractions, none of them interested her. She only wanted to go camping. Du Hao had considered camping too, but he worried that the conditions would be rough and that washing up would be inconvenient. If it suddenly rained, they would not even have anywhere to shelter. He did not want Sang Ji to suffer. Sang Ji began adding up the cost of the original plan, including gas, amusement park tickets, and food. Du Hao could tell that she still wanted to go camping. Sang Ji admitted that she had already prepared for the trip. Once Du Hao saw that she had planned all the supplies and activities they would need, he agreed to go beach camping with her. But on the day of their departure, it suddenly began to rain. Their first trip together was about to be ruined. Du Hao suggested camping inside the apartment instead. They carried all the equipment indoors. They quickly pitched the tent and began setting up the table. Sang Ji asked Du Hao to pull her up. When Du Hao pulled her to her feet, they ended up standing close together again. Just then, Sang Ji's mother called. Sang Ji grew nervous and quickly told Du Hao to hide. She told her mother that she was camping at a friend's home. Her mother grew curious and asked Sang Ji to turn the camera around to show her the place. As Sang Ji gave her a look around, Du Hao hurriedly hid the photos of them together. Sang Ji accidentally tripped and fell against Du Hao. She had to explain that she had tripped over the camping equipment. Her mother reminded her to be careful, but Sang Yen sarcastically said she had probably bumped into someone hiding in the room. not the camping equipment. Their father said the indoor camping reminded him of how Sang-ji used to set up a tent in the living room as a child. It had made her feel safe. Her parents then asked whether camping was fun. Sang-ji said it was very fun. Her parents said they missed her and hoped she would return to Nanwu for her internship the following summer. Her mother also hoped Sang-ji would return after graduation and stay close to her. Sang-ji said graduation was still a long way off and that she would think about it later. She urged her parents to get back to what they were doing because she still needed to finish setting up the tent. Her parents told her to have fun and ended the video call. During the October holiday, Du-hao could not leave because of work. Sang-ji had to return to Nanwu alone. Although Sang-yen claimed he did not want to see his sister, he still arrived at the airport early to pick her up. When Sang-ji saw her brother, she reminded him that he had said he did not want to see her. Sang-yen told her to ask why Du-hao had called over and over and woken him so early. That morning, Du-hao had called Sang-yen 3 times in a row. After Sang-yen silenced his phone, Du-hao ordered food for him. In the delivery instructions, Du-hao had called Sang-yen his boyfriend. He had also told the delivery driver to make sure Sang-yen woke up and ate. Otherwise, there would be serious consequences. The delivery driver eventually woke Sang-yen up. On the drive home, Sang-yen remembered that he still had not bought his sister the taro-filled crispy duck. Sang-ji said it was fine if she did not have it that day, but Sang-yen insisted on buying it right away, or their mother would blame him again. He asked Sang-ji for directions, but she told him to take her home first and buy it on his own. When Sang-ji returned home, she saw her parents testing a new camera. She took several photos with her mother. Her father kept asking them to change poses. He also said he was very happy to have 2 beautiful women in the family. Her mother asked where Sang-yen had gone. Sang-ji said her brother had gone to buy taro-filled crispy duck. Their mother had told Sang-yen to buy it before picking Sang-ji up, but he had ignored her again. She told Sang-ji to talk to him later, then urged her to change her shoes and come downstairs for dinner. Sang-ji went straight to her bedroom and called Du-hao. She asked what he was doing. Du-hao said he was thinking about her. Sang-ji said she missed him too and asked whether he had eaten. Du-hao said he had not eaten yet. Just then, her mother entered the room. Sang-ji hurriedly ended the call. Her mother set down some fruit and left. Sang-ji found the small box she had hidden away. She carefully took out the milk bottle filled with paper stars. She had never expected that she and Du-hao would actually end up together. Sang-ji's mother realized that her daughter was dating someone and immediately went to talk to Sang-ji's father. She wanted to know who the man was, how old he was, and whether he was Sang-ji's classmate. Her father also became upset when he learned about it and immediately went to question Sang-ji. Sang-ji brought over a small stool, ready to have a proper conversation with her parents. Instead, they immediately began questioning her. They asked how old the man was, how they had met, which school he attended, and what he studied. Her father believed Sang-ji was still too young. He thought it would be better for her to wait until after graduation before dating. He also worried that Sang-ji would stay in Ihi for the relationship. He asked whether the man would be willing to return to Nanwu with her. The questions overwhelmed Sang-ji. She excused herself by saying she needed to find her brother, then left the room. Meanwhile, after finishing work, Du-hao immediately packed a bag and traveled to Nanwu to see her. Sang-ji ran to find her brother, who was playing a game. She deliberately praised Sang-yen for being smart and said he could never lose the game. She even began massaging his shoulders. Sang-yen immediately noticed the change in her behavior and asked what she wanted. Sang-ji asked whether he was getting ready to go out. When she learned that Sang-yen was going out for dinner, she immediately asked what they were eating and whether the food would be good. She also wanted to know who he was meeting. Sang-yen gave her 5 minutes to get ready and said he would wait downstairs. Seeing how excited she was, he began complaining. Du-hao was going to dinner with a group of men, yet he still insisted on bringing Sang-ji along. Sang-yen asked whether she would feel awkward eating with a group of people she did not know. Sang-ji replied that as long as she did not feel awkward, she did not care what anyone else thought. Sang-yen said he was always the one who ended up feeling awkward. He then remembered moving out of his dorm during senior year. Sang-ji had insisted on going with him and said she would feel terrible if she could not. Looking back, Sang-yen realized that Du-hao was the person she had truly wanted to see. Du-hao had failed to notice it for years, but Sang-yen had figured it out. Sang Yan then asked whether Du Hao had really been the one to pursue her. The question made Sang Ji visibly nervous. She pretended not to understand and told her brother not to make things up. Sang Yan insisted that he was asking a serious question. While they were arguing, Du Hao suddenly appeared. Sang Yan immediately stopped talking. Du Hao and Sang Ji sat in the back seat of the car. Sang Yan reminded them not to act overly affectionate inside his car. Sang Ji told her brother to focus on driving. Sang Yan complained that he had somehow become their private driver. Sang Ji asked whether he was jealous. Sang Yan started telling Du Hao how Sang Ji had acted when he moved out of his dorm during senior year. Seeing that her brother was about to reveal her secret, Sang Ji immediately wrapped an arm around his neck. That was enough to make Sang Yan stop. At the restaurant, Du Hao and Sang Yan's former classmates looked curiously at Du Hao and Sang Ji holding hands. Du Hao introduced Sang Ji as his girlfriend. One classmate immediately remembered that they had taken a photo together at graduation. At the time, someone had asked who Sang Ji was, and Du Hao had introduced her as Sang Yan's younger sister. He offered no further explanation, and simply confirmed that this was how he had introduced her back then. The classmates then asked whether Sang Yan had known about the relationship all along. Qian Fei shared the news that he was about to become a father. Everyone was happy for him. Sang Yan immediately asked whether Qian Fei had already chosen a postpartum care center and a hospital. Sang Ji wondered how her brother knew about those things. Sang Yan said he would need the information sooner or later, so he had researched it in advance. Sang Ji noticed that her brother was acting strangely and continued questioning him. But Sang Yan told her to mind her own business. Sang Yan also told his sister not to drink too much. Du Hao defended Sang Ji, who refused to listen to her brother. He asked what was wrong with his girlfriend having a little alcohol. Sang Yan said he was done interfering and told Sang Ji's older boyfriend to take responsibility for her. Du Hao immediately corrected him. A boyfriend was a boyfriend, and there was no need to emphasize his age. Sang Yan gave Du Hao one last reminder. Sang Ji had to be home before 10 that evening. After dinner, Du Hao walked Sang Ji home, giving her time to sober up. Just then, Sang Ji's mother came outside to take out the trash and saw them in an intimate moment. Later, she asked Sang Ji directly whether she was dating Du Hao. Her mother's serious expression made Sang Ji hesitate. Sang Ji admitted that Du Hao was one reason she had chosen to stay in Yihe for her summer internship. Her mother relaxed a little when she learned that Sang Ji had stayed in the school dorm all summer. Sang Ji stressed that Du Hao had always treated her well and that her mother already knew him. Her mother agreed that Du Hao was a good person, but she wanted to know whether Sang Ji fully understood Du Hao's family background. She still had concerns about his family situation and worried that Sang Ji had mistaken admiration for love. Her parents would not object if the two remained like brother and sister, but they could not yet accept them as a couple. Sang Ji insisted that she was already grown up and could tell the difference between admiration and love. She truly loved Du Hao. Her mother did not want to keep arguing. She told Sang Ji to shower and go to bed. They would discuss it another day. The next day, Sang Ji arrived at the park early as they had agreed. Du Hao spotted her staring into the distance and quietly approached. Sang Ji asked where he had gone that morning. Du Hao said he had gone to take care of something very important. Sang Ji kept asking questions, but Du Hao told her she would find out later. He also said he wanted to set a day to formally meet her parents. Sang Ji agreed to talk to them and decide whether they should meet at a restaurant or at her home. Sang Ji then said she wished she were 29 instead of 20. Du Hao asked why. Sang Ji explained that if she were 29, she would be 3 years older than Du Hao. Then Sang Yan would not have attacked him after learning about their relationship. Du Hao joked that he liked Sang Ji because she was younger than him. Sang Ji reminded him that she would grow old someday. Du Hao replied that even when Sang Ji grew old, she would still be younger than him. Sang Ji said she only wanted to stay by Du Hao's side and hoped he could be happy every day. After they went their separate ways, Sang Ji's father asked Du Hao to come to the house alone. Du Hao looked visibly nervous as he stood before Sang Ji's father. Sang Ji's father admitted that Du Hao had always taken good care of her. But if they were planning a future together, they could not ignore Du Hao's father's condition or the responsibilities that came with his family. Du Hao did not dodge the issue. He simply said he would handle it. That evening, Sang Ji's father told her about the conversation. He stressed that they did not look down on Du Hao. They were only worried that their daughter would have to carry too much in the future. If, after seriously thinking about their future, they still felt the relationship would not work, it might be better to end things sooner. Sang Ji acknowledged that those concerns were real, but she made it clear that Du Hao could not choose the family he was born into. She was willing to face those problems with him. She also asked her parents not to judge Du Hao because of his family. As soon as Sang Ji returned to her room, she called Du Hao. She was worried that her father's words had hurt him. What worried her even more was what Du Hao had said about seriously considering their future. She feared he was actually thinking about ending the relationship. Du Hao told her not to argue with her parents. He also said he had received an unexpected call and had to fly back to Yihe early the next morning. Sang Ji offered to go back with him, but he refused. She then offered to take him to the airport. Du Hao still told her to stay home with her parents. His sudden departure made Sang Ji even more uneasy. Because he would not let her see him off, she began to suspect that he planned to break up with her. Early the next morning, she packed her bags and prepared to return to Yihe. Sang Ji told her parents that she was going back to find Du Hao. There were things she had to say to him in person. She had already booked her flight and told them not to worry. Her mother admitted that what she and Sang Ji's father had said the night before had hurt Sang Ji. Sang Ji said she understood their concerns, but she believed she was already old enough to know exactly what she wanted. She did not want to give up the relationship because of her parents' concerns. Her mother explained that Du Hao was a good man and that both parents had always liked him. But as parents, they had their own worries. Sang Ji knew they could not completely trust Du Hao yet. She only asked them to trust their daughter this once. Seeing how determined she was, her father stopped trying to prevent her from leaving. He even offered to drive her to the airport. Soon after Sang Ji landed, she received a call from Du Hao. Du Hao told her to wait for him at the airport. He had said the same thing when she first came to Yihe during her second year of high school. Sang Ji felt just as nervous as she had back then. She clutched the small paper star that held her secret. Before long, Du Hao arrived. Afraid he might break up with her, Sang Ji confessed the moment she saw him. She told him about the feelings she had hidden for years. She admitted that during her second year of high school, she had come to Yihe just to see him. There had never been an online boyfriend. Sang Ji handed Du Hao the paper star that held her secret. She told him she had written it when she was younger. After hearing Sang Ji's confession, Du Hao did not speak right away. He carefully opened the star. The note said that Sang Ji had a secret. She did not really want to admit it, but she seemed to have fallen for Du Hao. She had already liked him before she even knew how to write his name. She had liked Du Hao for a long time. Du Hao then read that Sang Ji had planned to earn a lot of money one day and help him pay off his debts. When he read that part, Du Hao could no longer hold back his tears. He had never imagined that Sang Ji had liked him from such a young age. Sang Ji asked Du Hao not to give up their relationship because of what other people had said. She wanted him to stay with her forever. Du Hao did not answer right away. Instead, he asked her how to turn the paper back into a star. After opening it, he did not know how to fold it again. Sang Ji took the paper and folded it back into a star as she cried. Du Hao promised to keep the star safe. He said he had already made Sang Ji cry many times. Then he called her his little crybaby and held out his arms. Sang Ji immediately hugged him. Du Hao asked whether she had returned to Yihe just to tell him all of that. Sang Ji admitted that she had. When Du Hao said he needed to think about their future, Sang Ji feared he might break up with her over the phone. She thought it would be harder for him to say it if she told him everything face to face. Du Hao then understood that Sang Ji had been worried he would give up on their relationship. He told her that if her parents were no longer worried, he would take her to register their marriage right away. Sang Ji asked why he had to take her. Du Hao said he was afraid she might run away. When Du Hao had said he needed time to think, breaking up had never crossed his mind. He had been deciding between two plans. He could stay in Yihe with Sang Ji for 2 years and return to Nanwu with her after graduation. Or he could return to Nanwu first, settle everything there, and wait for Sang Ji to come back after she graduated. Sang Ji said she could stay anywhere. She could also remain in Yihe with him. Du Hao admitted that he did not want to stay there forever. Sang Ji was the only person he was willing to change his plans for. Du Hao told her that she only needed to stay in Ihi and focus on her studies. She did not have to think about anything else. Most importantly, she needed to be a little more clingy with her boyfriend every day. Du-hao would handle things with her parents himself and do his best to ease their concerns. That evening, Du-hao drank alone. Sang-ji asked whether he was upset. Du-hao said he only felt that he had not treated her well enough. Sang-ji told him that he had always treated her well, both in the past and now. Du-hao looked at her and told her he loved her for the first time. Sang-ji leaned in and kissed him. Not long after that, the hospital called as Du-hao was leaving his studio. His father's condition had become critical. Du-hao rushed to the hospital and finally said everything he had held back for years. If his father had not jumped from the building to avoid responsibility, he might have been released years ago. Du-hao had already paid all the compensation and debts his father had left behind. But his mother had not lived long enough to see that day. Because they had no money, she had been unable to receive treatment in time and had died. Du-hao had once hoped his father would wake up. He wanted him to see what he and his mother had gone through over the years. He also wanted his father to feel guilty and even suffer. The disaster had forced Du-hao to understand responsibility while he was still very young. At least he had not become like his father. After saying everything he had kept inside, Du-hao told his father to apologize properly to his mother when he saw her again. His father's fingers moved slightly. Then the monitor beside the bed let out one long, steady tone. After taking care of his father's affairs, Du-hao found Sang-ji waiting downstairs. He calmly told her that he had always known this day would come. Sang-ji said nothing and simply opened her arms. The moment Du-hao looked at her, he could no longer hold himself together. He leaned against her shoulder and sobbed. Later, Du-hao took Sang-ji to his mother's grave. He told his mother that he planned to settle in Nanwu but would still return to visit her every year. His father had died as well. Following his father's wishes, Du-hao had found him a proper burial place. As he spoke, his voice broke, and Sang-ji's eyes turned red. Sang-ji then introduced herself to Du-hao's mother. She said that Du-hao had grown into a very good man. Despite everything that had happened, he had never given up on himself. He had continued working hard and taking responsibility for everything. Sang-ji promised that she would stay with him and would not let him face everything alone anymore. She also told Du-hao that one day he would have a family of his own and many people who loved him. After leaving the cemetery, Du-hao decided to go to Nanwu first and build his career there. He wanted to prepare for their future. Sang-ji remained in Ihi to complete her final 2 years of school. Sang-ji did not want him to make too many sacrifices for her. Du-hao said he genuinely wanted to go to Nanwu. Sang-ji's parents lived there, and he could start a business anywhere. For him, home was wherever Sang-ji was. Even so, Sang-ji still had trouble letting him go. They would soon begin a long-distance relationship. Du-hao reassured her that they would have many chances to see each other. After he decided to move to Nanwu, they spent nearly every moment together. Even when Sang-ji cooked tangyuan, Du-hao held her from behind. Du-hao asked what he should do if he missed her too much after arriving in Nanwu. Sang-ji told him to eat the candy she had prepared whenever he missed her. He could also take the polar bear plush toy with him. Du-hao left the toy with her instead. Whenever Sang-ji missed him, she could look at it and imagine he was still beside her. Du-hao then asked whether Sang-ji would miss him. Sang-ji deliberately changed the subject. She told him to rest because the tangyuan would be ready soon. To prepare for their long-distance relationship, Sang-ji put together a guide for them. As they ate, she quietly glanced at the guide and went over her suggestions. They had to video call every day and keep up the little routines they shared as a couple. Sang-ji had also thought carefully about what they should do if they argued or began to doubt each other. She explained that many long-distance couples faced problems. She wanted them to prepare in advance. Du-hao smiled and praised her guide. He asked Sang-ji to send him a copy. They would both follow the rules they had agreed on. Soon, it was time for Du-hao to leave. Sang-ji kept holding Du-hao's arm and refused to let go. Du-hao said the airport was too far away. If he had known this would happen, he would not have let Sang-ji come to see him off. Sang-ji said there was no way she could have stayed away. She did not want him to leave at all. Du-hao promised to return whenever he had time. He would not make her wait too long. Sang-ji reminded Du-hao to eat properly after he arrived in Nanwu. She told him not to overthink anything else and to focus on his work. She wanted him to work hard without putting too much pressure on himself. Even if his business failed, it would be fine. She could support him after she graduated. Du Hao smiled and agreed to let her support him after graduation. Before leaving, Du Hao reminded Sang Ji several times to message him once she was in the car. But every time he turned away, she followed him again. After this happened several times, Du Hao turned around and hugged her. He agreed to let her walk a little farther into the airport with him. Their long-distance relationship began, and both of them focused on the future they were building together. Sang Ji stayed busy, preparing for a competition. Du Hao searched for a studio in Nanwu. He also arranged to meet his college roommates at Sang Yan's bar. As soon as they sat down, they started teasing one another. One of them repeatedly asked who the idiot was. Another joked that Du Hao had changed. Du Hao smiled and said things were different now. Sang Yan was his girlfriend's older brother, so of course he had to side with family. Sang Yan immediately mocked him for losing his mind after dating his younger sister. The others joined in and deliberately called Sang Yan the scary older brother. Du Hao then said he wanted to visit Sang Yan's parents. Sang Yan asked whether he was moving too fast since Sang Ji was still young. Du Hao explained that he had just finished setting up the studio. It was also time to pay Sang Ji's parents a proper visit. There were several things he wanted to discuss with them. One of the others laughed and said Du Hao had been thinking about marriage from the start. He also teased Sang Yan for making a girl wait while insisting that she was the one chasing him. Sang Yan immediately cursed at him. Sang Ji called at that moment. Du Hao ignored the stares of the other men and started talking to his girlfriend. When Sang Ji playfully teased him, everyone said the two of them clearly belonged together. Du Hao chose a day when both of Sang Ji's parents were available. Sang Yan was worried that their parents might make things difficult for Du Hao. He stayed home to help. When Sang Ji's mother saw Du Hao, she greeted him warmly. Du Hao greeted her and handed over the gifts he had prepared for both parents. Sang Ji's mother told him he should not have spent so much. Sang Yan moved to help carry everything. Du Hao said he could handle it himself. Du Hao was still nervous when he returned to Sang Ji's home. Even during dinner, he remained reserved. Sang Ji's father kept the conversation light. After dinner, Du Hao spoke openly to Sang Ji's parents about his plans. He told them that he understood their concerns and that everything involving his family had already been taken care of. Since Sang Ji still had 2 years before graduation, he planned to remain in Nanwu, start over, and prepare for their future together. Sang Ji's father asked whether Du Hao was truly willing to stay. Without hesitation, Du Hao said that his life might have gone in a completely different direction without Sang Ji. When she was young, she had saved her allowance for him. Later, she had even wanted to help him pay off his debts. Although she was younger, Sang Ji had always put his situation first and repeatedly tried to protect him. Du Hao then made a promise to both parents. Sang Ji had helped him move beyond his past, and he would stay by her side and take their future seriously. Her mother did not ask anything else about his family. She said that she and her husband cared about only one thing. They wanted their daughter to be happy. At those words, the tension in Du Hao's expression finally eased. Sang Yan suddenly asked whether Du Hao had forgotten that Sang Ji also had such a wonderful older brother. Du Hao irritably asked why Sang Yan had to involve himself in everything. After the meeting, Sang Yan told Du Hao that he had been too humble in front of their parents. He urged Du Hao to stand up for himself and stop sacrificing his own needs. He also warned Du Hao not to give in to Sang Ji all the time, or he would spoil her. Du Hao did not need to carry every responsibility alone. He needed to make life a little easier for himself. Du Hao sincerely thanked Sang Yan. He also thanked him for taking care of him over the years. Sang Yan felt uncomfortable hearing those words. He muttered that it was unbelievable. After leaving Sang Ji's home, Du Hao immediately called her. He told her that her parents no longer opposed their relationship. Sang Ji told Du Hao to have more faith in himself from then on. He was the best Du Hao in the world. No one had the right to say otherwise. Du Hao smiled and said he missed her. Sang Ji told him she missed him too. Sang Ji then told Du Hao that her work had won an award. The ceremony would take place at the end of the month, and she really hoped he could attend. Du Hao said it might be difficult, because he was busy with a new project and had several meetings. Although Sang Ji was disappointed, she said she could only hope he would be there the next time she won an award. On the morning of the ceremony, Du Hao sent her a message. Sang Ji was busy preparing her materials and had not replied when she heard people behind her talking about a handsome man. Then a familiar voice asked why she had ignored her boyfriend's message and whether the seat beside her was taken. Sang Ji quickly told Du Hao to sit down and asked why he was there. He teased her for reacting so calmly, as though she had not missed him at all. Du Hao had taken a flight that morning. The Yiming project team had also been invited, and because he knew Sang Ji would attend, he had come in Su Yun's place to surprise her. The two talked as if no one else was there, completely ignoring Sang Ji's roommate beside them. To avoid disturbing the others, Sang Ji pulled Du Hao toward the back row. Du Hao had dressed in a suit for the occasion. He asked whether his tie matched, then kept touching his neck and complaining that it was too tight. When Sang Ji reached out to adjust it, Du Hao teased her and said she could simply admit that she wanted to kiss him. Sang Ji gave him a thumbs up and asked whether he had any shame at all. Du Hao was one of the presenters at the 5th Yihe University Design Competition and would present the final grand prize. When the host announced the Character Design Award, words Sang Ji had once said to Du Hao appeared on the large screen. She had hoped that they could pursue their dreams and keep working hard together. She wanted Du Hao to leave all his unhappiness behind, with someone beside him who would never leave. That person would be her. The screen ended with one final sentence. Now, both of our dreams have come true. The host announced Sang Ji as the winner of the Character Design Award. As the audience applauded, she walked onto the stage and stood beside Du Hao. They had once promised each other at the Science Museum that they would work toward their dreams together. Now they were standing on the same stage. After graduation, everyone went to the beach to celebrate. Sang Ji believed she was helping Qin Qi plan a proposal. She sent Ning Wei away, chose the location, and personally checked the roses and flower petals. Once everything was ready, she covered Ning Wei's eyes and led her into a heart outlined with flower petals. When the countdown ended, all of Sang Ji's roommates suddenly ran away. Sang Ji turned around. The man holding the flowers was not Qin Qi, it was Du Hao. Her parents and Sang Yen were also standing on the beach, watching them. Du Hao told Sang Ji that he envied her because she had loved the same person for so many years. He had not started seeing her differently until Yihe's first snowfall. It had taken Sang Ji 5 years to stand beside him. 5 years earlier, she could only hide her feelings inside paper stars. Now, Du Hao placed a ring on her finger. This time, she had her answer. Years later, Sang Ji still looked at Du Hao the same way she had when they first met. Whenever he stood in front of her, her heart still raced. That brings today's story to an end. Thank you for watching.